not just a case. You're not just a client. You're a person, and you deserve support. You deserve simplicity. You deserve communication. When you hire an attorney, you deserve clear, risk-free advice that guides you to the best possible outcome in your injury case. And that's exactly what the advocates have been providing for over 30 years. After your accident, you deserve closure. You deserve compassion. You deserve peace of mind. You deserve an advocate.
This is The Monty Show, the truth in sports talk streaming. When you want unbiased opinions about your favorite team without the spin, all you have to do is find The Monty Show, streaming live and available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on YouTube. And now, here's Monty.
Hey, The Monty Show, live on your Monday, June 16th. Already, we're halfway through June. We're already halfway through June. It's unbelievable. As always, we are presented by the Advocates at theadvocates.com, the best injury attorneys in the business. Folks, we are in the middle of the 100 deadliest days of the year, from Memorial Day to Labor Day. The Advocates remind you, if you're on the road, please watch out for those on two wheels, bicycles, motorcycles. Watch out for kids. There's a lot more kids in our neighborhoods. Please be careful. And remember, if the worst happens, be ready. Get to theadvocates.com where you can chat with an injury attorney live online, and it won't cost you a dime. Yet you have nothing to lose, quite literally, because you don't pay the advocates unless and until they win your case. Check them out at theadvocates.com. Hope you are well. A lot to get to today. It's going to be very interesting to see what your what's the right way to say this? Reception is for Greg Sankey. Your tolerance, your appetite. I dare somebody today to say something nice about Greg Sankey.
What?
I dare you. That'll be coming up here in about 50 minutes. We have to get to this Ross Dellinger story on a crack in the facade. Are the Big Ten and the SEC struggling to execute on their relationship? Because it appears there is significant dissent between the SEC and the Big Ten on how to build a college football playoff going forward. So we'll talk about all that coming up. But let's get to some exclusive details, because I know you're all excited here on the Monty Show to talk about a potential Pac-12 media deal. And it's very interesting this weekend. And I think obviously once we got the grant of rights signed, once we saw that the membership was in, now everybody expected a bunch of stuff to happen. And as we have told you for some weeks and months now, I don't think this is going to be something that's going to happen in days. I believe that we are several weeks, probably a month away from wrapping up all business in the Pac-12. If it's longer than that, and you're a Pac-12 fan, you should very much be in this position of, because I don't know what else you can do if you're the Pac-12 besides get a media rights deal done and add Texas State in whatever order that you need to. I think we all know those two items are a fait accompli. They're going to happen. It's simply a matter of time. We have done a lot of work on this story. Obviously, Pac-12 fans, Texas State fans, college football fans are very passionate about what's happening in the Pac-12 at this point. And I want you to understand, we have called a lot of people. We have talked to a lot of people. We have worked very diligently to get you the right, accurate information as we know it. I would expect Pac-12 fans, and maybe I'm expecting too much here, but I would expect Pac-12 fans to be somewhat excited about what we're about to divulge from our sources, because I think this is another good day for the Pac-12. Sources in the TV industry tell us that the Pac-12 is honing in on a deal in their media rights efforts that could potentially pay schools between $7 and $8 million a year. And as you know, on this show, we've talked about this repeatedly. We believe that that's the number that has to be. You have to break $7 million a year at a minimum to make the Pac-12 viable for the schools leaving the Mountain West, joining the Pac-12 to create this new entity. We believe that the Pac-12 is close to doing that. From what our sources in television tell us, their deal, and this is not new, we reported this 2 weeks ago, we talked about it last week on the show, their new media rights distribution deal that I would expect to be announced here in the coming days should look a lot like the deal that they have for this coming season for Oregon State and Washington State. I think the players will be remarkably similar. I think most of those games will remain on the CW. I think ESPN's new direct-to-consumer platform will have a heavy hand in broadcasting Pac-12 athletics, both basketball, football, and otherwise, which is a huge part of this. And I know everybody wants to talk about basketball and football, but I sit here and I tell you, the Pac-12 is chasing a deal that is very similar to what the Big 12 has, where they have all of their games in almost all of the major sports, stick and ball, baseball, softball, on a platform somewhere where mom and dad can go watch this very highly thought after recruit play softball, for instance, in the Big 12. That's the kind of deal that the Pac-12 is chasing, and they are very close to getting that. And the question is, what is the number? We have heard a lot of numbers. You have heard from Pac-12 mouthpieces telling you they're going to get $90 million a year. They're not getting anywhere near $90 million a year, and they don't need to. I think that's the most important part here. Don't fixate on how much money they're not getting. Look at the raw data. If the Pac-12, as a 9-member conference, can bring in somewhere between $65 and $70 million a year, divided between their membership, the Pac-12 is going to be in very good position. This is, of course, assuming Texas State is that 9th team. And if this deal includes a game or two on a major broadcast network, I don't know, like they have with CBS and ESPN, if this is the bulk of their games on the CW, and if this is their secondary sports on ESPN's direct-to-consumer with football and basketball mixed in, Jake, I just don't see how this is anything but a win for the Pac-12.
Absolutely. And, I think one of the most important things of the Pac-12 TV deal that needs to be accomplished is making sure that the exposure you do get is obviously multi-tier, multi-platform, which this deal clearly aims to do. And I think that, beyond that, for the Pac-12, one of the most important things that you have to get done, that you have to accomplish, that, you have to check off, is making sure that you take winning seriously, because we talk about it in every conference in college athletics. But I think particularly for the Pac-12, getting those shares in the postseason is vital to you moving forward. You got to get as much money in as possible, because we don't know what mediation is going to look like when it's all said and done. When that thing gets hammered out and we get clarity on that, it'll be really interesting to see who makes what. But I think for the Pac-12 TV deal, getting a deal that, pays you in that range is great. That's obviously enough. At the same time, I'm going to, go out on a limb and say that the Pac-12 feels like, they will be worth more in the years to come. But the only way that you up your value with TV partners is by winning football games, right? Being more relevant, being the thing that the crowd wants on the TV, right? It's like Gladiator. You got to win the crowd, bro. You got to be the one that's relevant. You got to be the one that everybody wants to watch. So, I do think this concept of the Pac-12 trying to be, the best G5 or like the most relevant conference, not at the power level, I think should be their goal. But it'll just be really interesting to see how they go about this, because, whether we've talked about this last week a lot, but like whether it's the private equity piece of business for the Pac-12 or the TV deal, or how much are you going to win? There's a lot of question marks here as to what you're going to be paid and who's going to get paid what, because that's the other thing that I think Pac-12 fan forgets about. Just because you do a TV deal, that's $7 to $8 million a school, that doesn't mean that each school is going to get that amount of money. Assuming, if we assume what we've talked about, which is, it's going to be performance-based revenue sharing, there's going to be schools, I don't know, like Boise State, certainly Washington State and Oregon State, who are going to want a bigger piece of the pie. And so to me, it's like, that's great that you're getting a TV deal in that range. That's awesome. Obviously, that's better than 4 or 5. But I think this concept of what does this conference look like when they actually start playing football games? Is it just going to be those couple of teams at the top of the stack that carry the rest of this conference, or will there be a middle of the pack team or a lower end team that one out of every 3 seasons, can pop off for 7-8 wins and really push your conference forward? Those are the things that are ultimately going to decide whether this conference survives long term, not just that you got $7 or $8 million in your distribution deal.
No, and I agree. I think the number is $65 million a year is the number that could really make a difference. And again, I'm going to go back to the CW equation because I don't even have to bring this up. So many people that I have talked to about this scenario bring up the fact that the Pac-12 is paying production costs for the CW. The CW very simply is pulling a game off of a satellite and putting it on their regional channels. And if that is the case in this new deal, I think we'll never know truly what the media rights deal is worth per school. And I think that's a little more of a scary proposition, because if you are paying the production costs for the bulk of your football and basketball games, it's just a very difficult way to do business. And if it is indeed 65 million, because that number, and the reason I'm happy to talk about that number is multiple independent sources in television have said, hey, we're hearing it's coming in at $65 million. If that's indeed the case, if it is $65 million, hey, maybe it's more than that. You're cooking with gas. If it is 60, you start doing some math on this stuff, the numbers get very tight, because you also have to remember they have significant legal fees that they are still paying. They have poaching fees they are paying. They have exit fees they are paying. You have a lot of expenses. And then there is the expense of actually getting this conference off the ground. There are the expenses of marketing. There are the expenses of infrastructure. It is not cheap to do what the Pac-12 is trying to do. That's why saving every penny on legal fees, I think, is critically important. Pulling back any dollar you can in poaching fees and exit fees with the Mountain West, really important. Because, and I know this pissed a lot of Pac-12 fans off, it's not an opinion. The facts are the first 3 years at this conference, the new Pac-12 is in business, are going to be very expensive. And it is going to be very difficult for any of these new members to be profitable on athletics unless this deal comes in at $65 million or more. And we are hearing it is right at $65 million, right at $7 million and change per school. Now, what's the unequal revenue sharing? How much is Boise getting? What is Gonzaga truly in the business of, with the Pac-12? Are they getting we've been told repeatedly Gonzaga is getting a full share, even though they do not play football. We'll see. These are all huge numbers. This conference also needs to win football games right out of the gate. They need, in year one, they have absolutely they have to put 3-4 teams into the NCAA tournament, because you have got to start generating those tournament shares as soon as you can. All of that stuff is so critically important, but none of it matters unless you can get to, and it was called a magic number by a TV source that I speak to pretty regularly. $65 million is the magic number. Can the Pac-12 get there? I believe they can. It's going to be really close.
And I think that, like, the Gonzaga portion of this, I think, is a really good example of like financial, well-being and responsibility. Gonzaga obviously doesn't play football. Obviously a juggernaut in basketball, but you're still paying them like they play football. And that's what I think is difficult, is that Gonzaga is a school, as we've talked about so much, that could have had the Big 12, but financially it didn't make as much sense to go to the Big 12 because it's a more competitive league. So they choose the Pac-12, and they choose this conference on what grounds? Because obviously it makes sense financially to play in a weaker conference, a weaker basketball conference.
Gonzaga, certainly Gonzaga, it does. Yeah,
it does. But But what was the promise, right? Was the promise simply, hey, we're going to pay you like a full share member and you're going to get for sure you're going to get this amount of money? Because short of that, I don't know why you would have joined the Pac-12. And the point I'm trying to make is that if the Pac-12 leadership did this multiple times, so if you did it with Gonzaga, if you did it with Boise State, let's say you did it with San Diego State, and then let's say you did it with Washington State and Oregon State, that group, that core group of your conference is now, verbally, in that scenario would be verbally promised a certain amount of money, whether you're making enough money to pay them or not. And that's what I'm concerned about, just with how this conference came to be, because, obviously this media rights deal is going to get done, and then we're off to how good are your teams and all of that. But I just have concerns about, how much money are you spending on mediation versus what you're going to get? I think it's a great point. How long are you going to sit here and bleed your well dry paying lawyers, bro? Like, how long, how long can you sit here and just not have a solution? And I understand that things take time, but it didn't seem like the Pac-12 was in too much of a hurry at the beginning of this process. And both sides, the Pac-12 and the Mountain West, have been paying lawyers in some form or fashion for quite some time now. Because you don't just pay lawyers when you're directly in mediation, right? You're paying lawyers to, give you advice, to consult you, to look through paperwork. There's all kinds of things. So my main point here is that for a Pac-12 fan, you should be happy about this number. No question about it. It's a good number. It's solid. The TV deal itself, I think, is really good. I am still very curious to see what the balance between linear and streaming is going to be, just in the bigger picture for the conference, because I think the more, I'll be honest with you guys, I don't watch the CW, and them being on the CW isn't going to make me watch the CW. I will be more likely to catch them on the ESPN app or running into them in that way. So for me, the CW portion just doesn't have a huge impact. I understand why for them they went that route, but I'm just saying, I think for me, and I think for a lot of people, you're not going out of your way if you're some run-of-the-mill college football fan, in the state of Texas, let's say, and you're just looking for a game. I don't think you're going out of your way to find that. So it'll just be interesting to see how the conference moves forward, what kind of viewership they can actually garner, and what their financial health is moving forward. Because I still maintain all of this to say it's all a play for 5 years from now, really 4 years from now, for 2030. That's what you're trying to do here.
I think if you can get $65 million, and I'm shocked it's that much money. I have been pretty dead set that I didn't think they'd be able to eclipse $60 million. But you want to talk about making life difficult for the Mountain West. If the Pac-12 pulls $65 million, my guess is that the Mountain West is going to have a lot of trouble breaking $5 million per school. And that is a very difficult reality, because there simply is not enough money in the marketplace for both of these entities, the Pac-12 and the Mountain West, to be at that $7 or $8 million per school per year number. And, you start looking at value for value, and this is where market size comes in. This is where, potentially prior athletic achievement comes in, because that is the main thing that you are selling. And obviously, if you are the Pac-12, you believe you have the better brands. And if you are the Mountain West, you're selling past performance. We did it once, we'll do it again. But my guess is, and I asked this directly today, and I was surprised to hear people saying, they're TV executives telling me directly there is not $150 million in the marketplace for these two conferences. Mm-hmm. There is not. And I think people have this perception that the money tree just keeps on blossoming in the TV industry.
Well, money, the branches just keep growing.
Oh, there's free money everywhere, and there's not. There's not. You look at some of the rights fees, and it's really interesting. And I had not really put this all together, but ESPN's a major player in this, obviously, as we've talked about. ESPN's looking at having to renew a deal they just renewed with the college football playoff. If a new entity is formed and college football breaks off into this new entity, you're going to have to redo that deal. And I think it's going to go up. And I think when you start looking at who's in this new entity and who's out of this new entity, and I think it is really important that the Mountain West and the Pac-12 pull every dollar they can out of this deal. Because if they do not, I don't know that it'll be there in the future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I really do not.
I think, what was it, last week, maybe late the week before, Thamel, I think it was, might have been Ross, tweeting that ESPN was dealing out some rights for 2026 college football playoff to TNT, I believe it was.
Subleasing.
Subleasing. So, again. So clearly they are being mindful of, how much inventory they have room for, obviously.
Yeah.
And making sure that they continue to make money. So it'll just, again, this is my point. If you're relevant and you're winning football games, ESPN's more willing to work with you, because they don't just have miles of inventory left. I mean,
but
there's only so many
expanding
hours.
to do you think expanding to 16 is free?
No.
Do you know how much more infrastructure and costs that is for? I mean, you look at all of the rights fees. You look at the new NBA deal. You look at the SEC, the Big 12, the ACC. All of that lives on ESPN. I just caution you, if you are a fan of the Pac-12 or the Mountain West, money is not endless, and it's why the Pac-12 finds itself where it is, because it would not accept. You remember the story we broke exclusively back in the day here on the show. ESPN was at $90 million, and that was it for the old Pac-12. We'll give you $90 million a year, full stop. And the Pac-12 said, no, we're not going to do that. And that's why we are where we are, ultimately. And now it comes back around to, okay, here's $65 million a year, split by 9. What is that? $7.19, $7.2 million. Well, here you go. And how much of that is going to be streaming? Because the real kick in the nuts, if you're a Pac-12 fan, the structure of this new media rights deal is going to be exactly what was offered to them when they had the original Pac-12 in place. You understand that, right? And it is mind-numbing to me that the marketplace has not changed. The Pac-12 has done nothing but change, and now they're going to come back together and do the exact deal the Pac-12 should have done for $90 million 3 years ago. And
funny how that works.
It's just, the question is how much of it is going to be on stream? How many Pac-12 football and basketball games will be stream only? Will it be 50%? Because if it's 50% or more, you probably lost money.
Mm-hmm.
You probably lost money. Because remember, back in the day, many of the Pac-12 presidents in the old Pac-12 did not want, and I believe Anna Marie Cosse at Washington was one of the loudest ones.
Yes.
And somebody in her athletic department who called and screamed at us about it.
That's facts.
I will never forget that phone call.
Mm-hmm.
Anna Marie Cosse, amongst others, did not want the majority of their content on stream only, a la Apple TV. So I don't know. It's going to be really interesting. If the Pac-12 gets $65 million, it's a very good day for the Pac-12.
Mm-hmm.
A very good day. I'm curious to see who's paying what on production costs, but where do you guys come down on this? And how much is not enough? What is the minimum? I think it is the minimum, the bare minimum is probably 60 something. 65 billion is pretty close to it. Because if you're under, I mean, what were you getting? $3.5–4 million a year in the Mountain West?
Something like that.
Did you really? Because you think about the exit fees, you think about all of the poaching fees.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The discrepancy between what you're going to make gross and what you're going to make net is going to be wild.
Think about all the lawyers' fees.
Like,
if you get less than $6 million, it's probably a net loss. The whole move is probably a net loss. So it's a really thin line, man. And I'm telling you guys, every dollar they save in exit fees and poaching fees makes it sustainable. It is crazy. All right. First one in today is Conrad, who gives us $5 to say, guys. What do you think happens if the Pac-12 has to pay the Mountain West? Let's say half of the lawsuit money.
Well, first of all, it's not if, it's when.
It's when they have to, because they will have to pay. I don't think it'll be. If they get a 50% write down on the exit and because what is it? It is $55 million in poaching fees. If you've only got to pay 22 million, or excuse me, 26, 27 million, you're probably doing that right now today. I mean, how could you say no to that?
Yeah.
And if you're the Mountain West, I don't know how you say yes to that on poaching fees alone. The exit fees, I would absolutely not budge a penny on that. Sorry, you everybody exiting the Mountain West, you're the ones that wrote these exit fees. You wrote the process, the money, all of it. I'm not budging a penny on it. And if we wind up in court, which I don't think will ever happen because I'm going to guess the Mountain West is going to acquiesce to save legal fees, which is what they should do. That is a very difficult pill to swallow if you are the Mountain West. You cannot, I don't think you can take a 50% write down on those fees.
I don't think you should.
No.
I think that, again, and this is my hope for Gloria Navarez and company. You are not the one that pillaged another conference. They have to pay for that. And I'm guessing, just purely guessing, members in the Mountain West didn't just forget that Pac-12 leadership came in and poached members. You didn't just forget that. So when we talk about hey, who's in the stronger position, let's not sit here and pretend that just because the Pac-12 is getting a nice little media rights deal here that they're somehow in a stronger position. I think we don't know who's in a stronger position. I think we don't know. I think that mediation's a massive question mark, and I think that the willingness to be spiteful if you're the Mountain West
and and does it not say anything that we're still in mediation?
Yeah, which tells me, I don't know what you think, but I think that tells me that they're battling, that they are definitely going back and forth, that they have not come to an agreement, obviously.
And they are, if they haven't come to an agreement, they're still trying. We're in a position here where we're going on almost a month of mediation.
On top of 6 months of under the radar, allegedly no contact, but under the radar negotiations, and we know how that works. So
it is, it's going to be interesting
because that's the thing that stands out to me. It's not like the conversation just changed because you entered mediation.
No,
right? A mediation is just a hey, we're announcing to the world that we're negotiating. Essentially, that's pretty much what you're doing.
Yeah, you're basically sitting at a table with an independent third party who's acting as a conduit for ideas and communication.
Trying to help you get this thing done.
Yeah. Welcome to the nightmare. Hello. Everyone hit the like button. Yes, please, Jesse Crum. Hello. Big Blue Horses. Greetings program. Great U.S. Open. Yeah, I don't think the U.S. Open was great. I don't think the U.S. Open was great at all. I think we got a storybook ending, which is fine. Sam Burns. I really hope the USGA put a condom on, as they were, never mind. What that ruling for Sam Burns standing in a puddle of water, the rain absolutely destroyed this tournament. The idea that this course is supposedly a championship caliber course, I think it was one of the most unwatchable U.S. Opens I've ever seen. I did not enjoy it at all. I am thrilled JJ Spawn won it. His life story. A year ago, he was talking about quitting golf. This is a guy who goes to his local Muni and hits on the driving range.
Scottsdale Muni.
Do you guys understand that? He goes to a Muni and buys buckets of balls and works on his swing with Steve and Kevin chunking wedges. Right? This guy's a great story. That's all well and good. Wyndham Clark is a disgrace to golf and should be suspended for what he did after that tournament ended. I think it just was not a fun tournament to watch.
Yeah,
in my
I think,
opinion.
Wyndham certainly, Rory certainly, Shane Lowry certainly, all guys that left this tournament looking like idiots, in my opinion. I understand that you're a professional golfer and, like in Rory's case, he's a Hall of Famer, one of the best to ever do it, certainly the best of his generation. Totally get all that, dude. Totally get it. Not taking anything away from you. None of that is an excuse to be behaving the way you were behaving. And I don't care if you're playing the worst round of your life. There's just no need to break stuff and throw tantrums. And I'm all good with
destroying a historic locker room.
Bro, I'm good if you want to throw your club down the course. Good with that. Every golfer's done it. It's in golf culture. No problems. Totally fine. You're not
even smashing
tee
tee markers is in golf culture.
I didn't love it. It is, but I didn't love that part of it for Rory. I expect better of him, but
I would agree.
The destroying of the locker room is totally unacceptable. And I think, and later on in the show we can talk about it more, but I think this concept of players, athletes having this sort of arrogance about them, this sort of assumptive entitlement that you can just do whatever the hell you want because you're good at something is getting a little tired.
It's getting old. TJ Beck just sliding in here like a ninja. I've heard that about you.
Okay.
Your little black belt.
Okay.
Facial recognition.
Chewy Gonzalez, Dodgers take the series against Little Bros. Yeah, but the Little Bros made the trade of a decade, which is amazing.
Yeah, and while we're in the business of calling the Giants the Little Bros, you and your pitching department for the LA Dodgers have one guy coming back from Tommy John, another guy in Roki Sasaki who is out indefinitely and needs to have Tommy John, apparently.
Did they say that finally?
Not officially, but he doesn't know when he's going to throw again. He's out indefinitely, and they're getting his arm looked at. I'm going to say you're on path for Tommy John.
Yeah.
And how many guys are they going to burn out by asking him to throw 100 miles an hour and asking him to throw loads of breaking balls? Like it just gets old, dude.
Yeah. Matthew Muldoon. 9 million is utterly hilarious if that's what it ends up being. 9 million what? Ripping apart the Mountain West only to end up here is what they deserve. It will not be $9 million.
Yeah, I think it's less than that, but I think I don't have as much vitriol as you have in this comment here. Clearly some feelings here, but all I'm saying is 7 to 8 mil is not enough to cover legal expenses, not winning, you're going to have to figure out a way. And again, it's the private equity angle, but you're going to have to figure out a way to inject cash into this conference to help you get along for a little while, in my opinion.
Yeah, we'll see. Corey, hello to you, sir. Monty was right again. Shocker. I know.
Yeah, and again, we don't do I told you so whatever day. We don't do that on this show.
Yeah, I would never.
You know that. Yeah.
JT, anyone else here for the merger drinking game? Every time they say merger, you drink. Hope you don't work tomorrow. Well, I don't think we said merger.
I don't think we've said that once today, bro.
They should have said it multiple times before they, didn't. But Danny Kiger saying hello from the college baseball town of Omaha. Jesse Crum, sports talk couldn't be more black and white. Okay. Truth. He's wearing white. See black and
see what he did there. It's a black and white.
Don't get me started on the Rafael Devers trade, Monty. Hey, I didn't get you started.
First of all, what are we doing at the end here with the spelling? It's Monty.
Hey, man. It just is. Stadium guy James, greeting from Central Texas. Please hit the like button. Hello. Yes, please hit the, Greg who? Skanky? Something like that. It sounds familiar. Greg Sankey or Greg Skanky? Exactly right. Fight on Natties. What's up with you? Good to see you, my friend. Screw USC. Travis, I had to. 4 years later, the PAC lands a TV deal. Well, seriously. Seth, who makes hats, says Jake was right weeks ago. PAC owes people an explanation on Endgame. I don't see how this was best for Oregon State and Washington State.
There's no question this is not what was best, but this is what was available.
Yeah. Fight on Natties. But Monty, Notre Dame still sucks.
That's right. That's right, dude. That's right.
My guy. There you go. Danny Kiger, the Pac-12 is going to an all esports model, and football games will now be played on College Football 26, streaming live on Twitch.
Back 10.
Nice, dude. I mean, saves production cost, right?
David E. Persons, but aren't they still a G5 conference that thinks it's a P4? No, I don't think so. Or am I missing something? I think anybody who believes that the Pac-12 is angling or has the potential to be a P4 conference, a power conference, again, is out of their mind. The formula doesn't exist. The money doesn't exist. That you're just not. Gonzaga is probably the best example of this. They had an invite to join a power conference and said, no, we're going to take the easiest route, which is, I don't even believe that's a bad decision, because joining the Pac-12, which doesn't have powerhouse basketball brands in it, almost assuredly puts Gonzaga in the NCAA tournament every year.
Mm-hmm.
I understand the business move, but that tells you the thinking. One of your biggest wins settled for you instead of a power conference, because they knew it would be easier and they would make more money by monopolizing basketball in the Pac-12. That's the reality of it.
Yeah.
Stadium Guy James, I think the end game is to prove that the Pac-12 can bring in good ratings and the next TV deal will be worth more. I mean, you gotta win games. That is, it's as simple as that. You don't get access. You're in the middle. You've got to win every single game possible, because that's how you make more money. You're getting paid for every game you play in the college football playoff. And you've got to get there. With all due respect to the great basketball institutions in this country, football pays the bills.
Facts.
So for my money, yeah, I think you are pushing towards whatever is next. I don't think you know what's next.
Yeah, and I think so. We talk so much with the power conferences, like the Big 12, just as an example, like how much pressure there is for like Joey or, Utah or any of the programs in the Big 12 you can think of to win football games, so that the Big 12 can compete with the SEC on a more closely. Not that gap is close, but just as close as they can. The difference is that the Big 12 is going to be there one way or the other. I still have real reservations about the long-term viability of a conference that's only making 7-8 mil a year per school on the media rights side, and does not have wide-ranging access to the college football playoff, based in format, but also based in performance.
And does not have a management structure that has shown they can successfully navigate the college sports landscape.
So why would we, based on those factors, just assume that the Pac-12 is going to be just fine? Because you talk about endgame. If endgame is the question, I think if you ask Teresa Gould what the endgame is, it's to be a P5 conference again. That's what they would say.
I don't even know how you get there.
I don't either.
Because who amongst the power conferences is going to give up money to designate the Pac-12 a power conference? I don't know either, because that's what it's going to take at this point.
Mm-hmm.
It was always, and I understand that those out there who, knee pad the Pac-12, look, I get it. You never wanted to believe it was a one-way street. This was always a one-way street. You don't give people money and then say, hey, can we get that money back? No, you can't. You're not going to get access back, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Stadium Guy James Conrad, I think you're exactly right. I think in the end, the settlement will be half of the original amount. Based on what? Well, ask yourself, if you're the Mountain West, why would you take a 50% write down on the fees that you are so clearly owed? especially exit fees, which the people leaving wrote.
And I also might point out, going off what you said earlier, bro, if they were going to take half, this deal would be done already. You think the Pac-12 wouldn't take that rate and run for their life? Like,
Yeah.
come on, dude.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
They're not getting half, bro.
Can they pay in installments over time? I don't know that that's a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, I think the question of how that's paid out is also a big thing. I mean, if they were to come to some, because I don't think there's like a definitive way to do this. I think it's all being negotiated. Hey, you got to pay it. You got to pay us based on what the original agreement said versus what the Pac-12 wants in terms of a payment plan.
Yeah, I would agree.
That's being negotiated.
I think it is a really interesting formula. I do. Lopespan Gabe, hit the like button. Yes, please. Appreciate that. Phil Fenzer, is $65 million from the back of the envelope calculations?
I mean, it's somewhere in that ecosystem.
I think if they get, I have no reason to believe it's not $65 million.
Back of the envelope calculations.
I mean, those people don't make up numbers. And I think when you look at what $65 million represents, it's $7.2 million. And I think that is really in line with what we've been talking about. Because I again, don't believe that either one of these conferences is worth $10 million a year. I don't think either one of them is worth $8 million a year. And I believe that because that's what I'm being told by multiple TV executives. So I just don't see it that way. I really do not. I think the Pac-12 should definitely schedule games with the Big 12, especially Colorado, Utah, and the Arizona schools. That makes zero sense. If you are the Big 12, I mean, I guess you can schedule Boise, but who else football-wise in the Pac-12 is going to help you at the end in November or December when these decisions are being made? Who's in and who's out? And it's razor thin. You can't tell me that, listen, I understand Colorado and Colorado State, but who wants to play Fresno State? Who wants to play San Diego State football? That's not a quality opponent.
And it's not not only is it not a quality opponent, it's not a quality non-conference opponent, because what do we do at the end of the year? Hey, this was your in-conference slate. This was your out-of-conference slate. And if your out-of-conference slate is soft as hell, you're people aren't just looking past that. Like, I mean, how many times did we mock Texas Tech last year for giving up 54 or whatever it was to Abilene, dude? Like,
but it's going to be strength of schedule and your record versus P4 opponents.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the Pac-12 should definitely schedule games with the Big 12. Well, shouldn't you ask the Big 12 first? It doesn't make a lot of sense. And I just, it's going to be tough. It's Keaton. You guys have been very outspoken about the Pac and the Mountain West deals being worth the same because they have equal quality teams. Well, I don't know who said that.
We have never said.
So you believe the Mountain West deal? No. See, like, who's ever said that?
Nobody has ever said that on this show, dude. What do you mean?
What I've said about these two conferences, neither one of them is worth $10 million. And I think they both have similar value. I don't believe that one is worth exponentially more than the other. And I don't believe that there is $130 million. Let's say they both get 65. There's not $130 million in the marketplace, in my opinion. I don't believe that for a second. I think that if it's 65, and this is why I say it's a very good day for the Pac-12. If they get a $65 million annual deal, it's going to be a very bad day for the Mountain West, because I don't know how they break. I mean, at that point, can they get $5 million per? Can they get, are you looking at a $50 million deal in the Mountain West? That's an awfully difficult pill to swallow. I mean, if the Pac-12 is getting 65, I just think it pushes the ceiling down on the Mountain West. So I said, I think it's really important whoever gets their deal first. They're in the driver's seat. We saw that with the Pac-12 and the Big 12. I mean, they're in the driver's seat. But nobody's, you guys have been very outspoken. Capital letters don't make you right.
Yeah.
So don't say Texas State fans high on the Dubage will be coming out of the woodwork professing greatness. I've tried a million different times to find value in Texas State beyond the fact that they play football and they'll be an 8th football playing member. That's the value of Texas State. All the other stuff is almost.
And it's not a knock on Texas State.
It's not.
It's just the reality of the situation.
Yeah, it just is what it is.
Yeah.
Man. Like Joey Harper, Oregon State trying to win one for PAC in baseball. Hey, dude.
Yeah.
One of the things you should know about the Pac-12 is that's a baseball conference. There's a lot of quality baseball in that league. So Oregon State's a hell of a baseball program. A very good Gonzaga's a hell of a baseball program. So that's going to be a really good stick and ball conference.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any doubt about that. Let's see. Stadium Guy James, Fox is also doing DTC model. Nobody's ever heard of it, and nobody's going to pay for it. Fox versus ESPN direct to consumer is no different than the Mountain West and the Pac-12. No different. Every major championship game you need, ESPN. I'm almost without exception. Why would you pay for Fox direct to consumer? I have no idea why you would do that.
I wouldn't.
I have no idea why you would do that. Sergeant Morhew, but money. Teresa promised all new Pac-12 members premium brand roller food dispensers. That's Jake's department.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Maury Alvarez for $5. Shout out to my daughter and I on our way to our first MLB game. Raise up. Don't raise up. Don't. PAC needs to merge. They're just strengthening their forearms if they don't. Well, listen, I think we're past the merge thing, right? I think they should have merged. There is no question the Pac-12 cost itself money per year by not merging. It's not even arguable.
Nope, no question about it.
It is. Everybody I talk to about this says, man, they should have merged.
Why didn't they?
Enjoy. They're at Legends Field, the Rays, right? Aren't they playing at Steinbrenner Field?
Yes, they are.
Yeah. So enjoy that game. Hope you guys have a great time. Let's see. Timothy O'Hara. My biggest question about the Pac-12, it going to be a baseball conference. Well, okay. Joey B, San Marcos, our savior. Okay.
Well,
that text came across horrible. Yeah, it did. Yeah, it did.
Okay, that's enough. Stop, please.
Horrific. Delaric, most I would settle on for poaching fees is 25% reduction and none on exit fees, but I say make them pay it all.
That's what I'm saying.
I am here for it.
Yeah.
The poaching fees, okay, negotiate. The exit fees, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And especially if they're getting $65 million a year, now it's all hands on deck in the Mountain West to save every penny they can save. And they should be doing that anyways, and I believe they are. I would not settle the exit fees any way, shape, or form. Any way, shape, or form. Phil Venzer. Dang, my guy Adam Scott choked down the stretch.
Indeed.
The disappointment I have in the U.S. Open, and I'm happy to mix this in, please. The disappointment I had in the U.S. Open is it was unwatchable golf. It was unwatchable golf. You had how many? Did you have a dozen guys throwing golf clubs? I mean, at a minimum, you had a dozen professional golfers throwing golf clubs.
Yeah, and at a minimum, you had one of the most iconic club throws from Rory onto his bag that then bounces back to him and went viral.
And he caught, and hey, I'm here for it. I'm here for it. Don't get me wrong. That's an unplayable golf course. It's not enjoyable to flip on the TV. Maybe this is just me. It's not enjoyable to flip on the TV after playing one of the best rounds of golf I have ever played Saturday. I I was surprised when we were finished. We were finishing out the scorecard.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wow, shot a 76. And I even said to Jake, does that sound right? Like I even went back and
went back twice and double checked.
And then to go home and flip on the tube and see guys throwing golf clubs in pouring rain and unhappiness and frustration and terrible rulings it was an unwatchable tournament. It is one of the most unenjoyable, unwatchable tournaments I have ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
For a major that's supposed to represent golf in the United States. Completely unwatchable. Unwatchable. And again, I will say, JJ Spawn's one of the great stories in golf this year. It's not Rory winning the Masters, but that win, Lab Golf is very happy because their shitty putters now are going to be sold out for months and months and months.
And their shitty putters are being exposed for being shitty.
Dude, they're so expensive. And do you guys know what I'm talking about? Lab Golf putters, those big ones. Do you guys understand you have to be taught how to use a Lab Golf putter? You can't just walk into a store and pick one up and then putt well with it. It is a very difficult piece of equipment to learn.
And I have to say, if you go to a PGA Superstore, there's going to be a bunch of them sitting on the used rack.
There is.
Like there
already is.
Selection.
Yeah. And I use my putter of choice is an Odyssey, A1 Jailbird Cruiser, 38-inch shaft. That's what your mom said she needed.
Yeah.
I putt very well with it. Jake's using a PXG Allen putter, which is a zero torque, but not a center shafted zero torque. Putting very well with it. Real Wade Nation gaming clips. Beavers on fire. Okay,
hey,
yes.
Just don't fill it up with emojis and you'll be fine.
You'll be fine. Right? That's, but yeah. Yep. Adam Scott played like Monty down the last few holes. Hey.
Phil, always talking junk, buddy. Always talking junk.
Stadium guy James, I'd have no problem with the Pac-12 going after UTEP. UTEP's got a grant of rights signed in the Mountain West. Why would they go after UTEP? I still contend the Pac needs 3 Texas. Okay. We've talked about this repeatedly on this show, and you just won't let it go. What benefit does the Pac-12 get from adding 3 Texas schools? Go get Memphis as a football only. Has that, am I the only one who looks at it that way? Like, go get Memphis as a football only. Why are you going to add? And I'm sure you're going to suggest Texas State +2. Who else are you going to add in Texas?
Who are the other 2?
Do you think Abilene? Do you think UTSA is not available? UTEP not available? Yeah, they could always get the Longhorns in the Pac-12, right?
Sure.
You can't just, and I think this is a fantasy that a lot of sports fans who don't know the business of college football live in. Oh, we'll just throw an invitation out to Notre Dame and they'll come join the Pac-12. Ask yourself, what 3 schools in Texas are available that bring real value to the Pac-12? I understand Texas State. It makes them whole. It makes them whole. Do it. How many 21,000 average attendance schools are you going to bring in? How many small football stadiums are you willing to add? How many San Marcos, Texases are you willing to add? So you can contend the Pac-12 needs 3 Texas schools. They don't. What they need now is football teams that can get into the college football playoff.
Yeah.
Who bring viewers to the television. That are competitive, that are well-heeled, well-supported, with good fan bases. That's the biggest issue. And everybody talks about how many times in the comments section this weekend, oh, they're going to go and get Memphis in Tulane. Ask yourself this question. If you're Memphis and you're big, what is Memphis's single biggest need right now? No, really. What do you think Memphis's biggest need right now is? They need a better basketball facility, better basketball conference to facilitate more money and an easier shot at the NCAA tournament. They don't need to go to the Pac-12 in a lateral move for football. That's not their biggest need. If Memphis could leave the AAC, they're not lock, stock, and barrel going to the Pac-12. That's bad for business. If you are Memphis, you need what's a premier basketball league in the East? Big East?
I guess.
You need the Big East. You need a conference where basketball is competitive. You can be on national TV more. Those wins mean more because nobody in the AAC is raising their basketball level to help Memphis. Nobody. They're not even, the conversation doesn't exist. So this idea that Memphis is just they're not going to join all in. Memphis football maybe in the Pac-12? Okay. Maybe. Possibly. But this idea that Texas schools, man, it's just not real.
Yeah.
It's not real. You know, like it just is. It's very difficult in my mind. San Diego State, Mike. San Diego State with the sweep, Justin Hastings and JJ Spahn.
Yeah.
So
Good weekend for San Diego State in golf.
But it's a great, this is what I have been espousing about, Mike, and to everybody else. Mike. San Diego State does all this great stuff and nobody knows about it.
Stay hard.
Nobody knows about it. Do you know how many really good performers are San Diego State alums? You don't. And that's the problem because you have a subpar athletic director.
Yep.
Subpar athletic director. Anybody noticed what happened at Cal today? Now, I don't know what I'm talking about.
And you would never say, I told you so. That doesn't happen on this show.
What did I tell you when Ron Rivera became the general manager of Cal football? That's the guy who's in charge. Because Cal football has to win games now. Because of their travel and their conference affiliation, and their athletic director resigned, and Ron Rivera now is essentially the guy over Cal football. He's going to be the athletic director, and I think this model is going to become pervasive across college football. You're going to have an athletic director and then a guy who's in charge of football. Those are two different dudes. Ron Rivera is in charge of Cal football now. It has always, and this is why I said you knew this was coming, because Ron Rivera was Ron Rivera reporting to the athletic director at Cal? No, he wasn't. He was reporting to the top of the food chain. The chancellor at Cal is who Ron Rivera was reporting to.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be the trend coming up. JT said, you said it there 3 times. Drink, drink, drink.
Yeah. You know,
what was he saying?
Merger.
Merge.
Yeah.
There, have a 12. Was that 12? Have a 12 pack. You know, it is what it is. Mike Smith, pack getting rich or not. Okay.
Back 10.
Lopes fan Gabe, Monte.
Yeah, Monte.
Hey, Monty.
Yeah, Monte.
It's not Monty, it's Monty. Dan.
Yeah.
Good to see you, Gumby. Yeah, it's very interesting how many people want to spell my name Monte. And I appreciate you guys correcting my mother. You know,
your mom.
Satan rest her soul. You know.
Right.
Gumby says Riverboat Bears. That's what I'm saying. John Hamm, to be fair to San Diego State, they could have had an awesome AD and no one would still know about the golf players are from there. LOL. Can't blame one on that. But when you have elite performers that are alums of your university, get on the old Twitter WebEx machine. Right? Like, you've got to be publicizing that stuff.
Yes.
I think it's hugely important, in my opinion. Danny Kiger, the only thing I really know about Fresno State is sometimes the score bug will say Bulldongs. Well, you know.
I'm sorry. bulldongs.
That's only on theme nights. You know what I'm saying? Like
bulldongs.
Nice dong. You know.
Bro.
It's fine. Gumby says, Abba Ling, take a chance on me. Anyway. Jake's never heard a single ABBA. Name one ABBA song.
No comment.
No, I didn't think so. Joey B, Texas State, San Marcos adding a Chili's up the road from Olive Garden. Let's
there
go.
There it is. See? There it is.
So yesterday was Father's Day. Not one person got me a Father's Day gift or said Happy Father's Day. Number two, we were driving by Olive Garden yesterday. I was like, dude, what I wouldn't give for a little pasta vajol and some breadsticks. Didn't happen yesterday. Jake, any comment there?
I said Happy Father's Day to you. Spent the whole weekend golfing with you. Had a good time.
Begrudgingly.
No.
Luis Moreno. Monty loves the girth of the Odyssey.
Yeah, you know, the grip in his hand really fills it up, you know.
I put a 3.0 super stroke on it, too. Put a big old fat meaty super stroke
You
on
gotta get
there.
stroked.
You know
Honestly,
what I'm
I start
saying?
stroking guys.
That's what
You
I'm
just
saying.
have to start stroking guys.
Johnny Gonzalez, if you don't want Texas State at their best, you don't deserve them at their worst. That's, you know.
Sure, yeah.
We were
Keep
all
telling
thinking
yourself that. Yeah.
We were all thinking
Oh,
it.
yeah, for sure.
You know. You know. Jeremiah Sullivan, whose last name is Champion. Afternoon, fellas. How's the wedding planning going? Jeremiah is so rich, he hired a wedding planner. I mean,
Man,
you
that's
know.
wow.
Gumby, if the Pac-12 brings in Texas State, they better have a fiddle in their bands. Well, you know.
Bro, you guys sending me screenshots of Bulldog score bugs.
I don't want Bulldog.
Dude, is this real life right now?
He died like a dog.
Bro, Egg Baghdaddy died like a dog.
So this idiot shows up at the studio today. He's like, dude, Baghdaddy, he died like a dog. Like, what? I'm just going about my business. Bro. You know, usually when I get to the studio first, Jake walks in all fired up because he usually is in the studio first.
Those are numbers of death.
He walks in the studio first, then I show up whenever the hell I feel like it.
And we were saying that.
I show up first, then he's like, Baghdaddy!
What's up?
What's up? Happy Father's Day, Baghdaddy!
Cold-blooded, clean, methodical, and thorough.
And I'm like, what is wrong with you?
He died like a dog.
He's like, oh, he died like a dog, crying all the way there. And I never put 7 and 4 together.
Mommy, please take me home.
And I was like, what is wrong with you? And so, of course, Jake whips it out and plays the video of Donnie talking about El Baghdaddy biting the dust. He died like a dog. What is
Crybaby Baghdaddy?
You guys understand the life that I live with?
So I said, yeah.
When you make a child who's not all there together mentally.
Sometimes I think I just say shit.
Yeah, then he just does. Oh, El Baghdaddy. That's the life.
I just try to provide entertainment, you know?
This is the life we live. Is Jeremiah having QT cater roller food for all the casuals who I assume are invited? I would think so. Think so. Mike says Jim Rome wants his content back. What did we copy from Jim Rome?
Yeah, what did we copy from Jim Rome?
The bummer with Jim Rome is he's not on at a time I can watch him anymore.
Yeah.
The time changed. Yeah, and frankly, during the day, I miss. This is going to go off into a tangent that I just probably shouldn't.
It's fine.
I miss really good sports talk. And growing up in Chicago in the 80s and 90s, I had really good sports talk radio.
Golden era.
Working in sports talk radio, being around some of the titans of this industry, I miss what we have today. So Jim Rome is a bastion to the past, and now I can't listen to him because he's not on in the morning anymore. And I just don't think there's a program that
I always wind up watching the replay on Twitter the next day because it's just chilling there. I need something of Rome.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, my God. LOL. We are getting barbecue for the dinner and charcuterie for cocktail hour.
Okay. Okay.
Have I professed my love of the charcuterie on this show. I spent probably
you bought it.
Yeah, I did. I spent like $400 on a Christmas charcuterie spread when we were in LA.
I might add, with a small business that knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, she was amazing.
Incredible.
She was amazing. I love charcuterie, dude. I'm here for it, you know.
Yeah, so I'm still waiting on what did we do that Jim Rome did? I don't really understand.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. David Persons, Monty, what would the per school payout have been if the Pac-12 had taken the original $90 million way back when? I bet the offer is looking pretty good to them right now. If I remember correctly, it would have been $90 million from ESPN, and you would have had, I can't remember who they would have had like a secondary carrier. It would have been like FS1 or somebody like that. So they would have been at 100. They would have been right about $100 million in total. What is that? I would have to do some math. They had 12. I think they have 12 members. You know, like you're looking at, God, the iPhone calculator is such a pain in the keister. You'd be looking at about 9 all in. It was just short of $10 million. So it was never going to work, because they didn't want to then go and get a streaming component, which would have made them, because it just wasn't going to, with ESPN alone, it wasn't going to work. Would have been like $9.7 million. Then you would have added Fox Sports in there. You would have added somebody to be your main and kind of split that content, but who knows?
It's hard to say, bro.
It's hard to say. They would not have gotten anywhere near the $40 million, which is why ultimately they didn't do it. So I think you need to be, I think if you're the old Pac-12 and you're a power conference, they truly believe they were worth $50 million per school per year, and they just never were. It was never, because their business model was so bad. And I think at the end of the day, they'd have been 20-something million dollars a year per school. And it just was untenable. So Shouty says, happy late father. See, somebody finally said happy Father's Day to me. Isn't that great?
Stay hard.
I love it. Finally, I feel whole, Jake.
Yeah.
Gonzaga chose the Pac-12 because the travel is no.
God, you are just.
See, James, listen, I know you're friends with a sideline reporter at Oak State.
Pause, bro. Pause.
Dude.
That has nothing to do with why Gonzaga chose the Pac-12. Travel was never a consideration.
Who the hell told you that? That is just factually incorrect.
I don't know what you're talking about.
It does drive me crazy that people want to just throw stuff out. It is just, they chose the Pac-12 for one singular reason. It is a guaranteed pathway to the NCAA tournament every single year, which is all they care about. That's it. That's the entire, they make overwhelmingly more money staying in the Pac-12 than they do going to the Big 12. For the one simple fact that if Gonzaga basketball joins the Big 12, are they even a top half team in that conference? It's going to be a struggle. It is going to be a struggle. Are they a top half team in the WCC? Yes. Are they a top half team in the Pac-12? For certain. There's no question about it. So you can keep going here, but that's just, I'm telling you, that is factually inaccurate. That is just not the case. Golf dongs are okay, but bull dongs is where Jake draws the line.
That's correct.
I believe that's true. There's no doubt about it. John Blackwelder, given the current landscape, is the Mountain West ripe for a merger? There you go. I don't know. Is that a serious question?
I'm not sure.
If I were the Mountain West, I would be looking for merger opportunities all the time. I mean, I think it's a really smart business. What happens to, because I think St. Mary's is leaving the WCC. That's my opinion. just based on things I've heard. And what happens to the WCC? What happens to... it's just a matter of what makes you viable. Because I don't believe that conferences that are just surviving the AAC, for one, that's not a path to the future. You struggle every day. You're worried about your membership every day. So I don't think you can just be surviving. I think you have to be thriving. You have to be making money. That is really, really important. Really, really important. Gumby says Gonzaga.
Oh, we calling for drops now, bro?
Gonzaga. I like Gonzaga. Gonzaga.
I paid for my degree. Say it right.
Gonzaga.
Thank you.
Stop crying like a little girl.
Do you guys remember that? When it was Gonzaga, and this... I almost felt bad, too, because this lady got into us about how she paid for her education, and Gonzaga is an institution that has earned respect internationally,
Gonzaga.
And you guys are a bunch of cock munchers.
I like Gonzaga.
Relax.
Chill out, dude.
Nobody's denigrating your degree.
Nobody kicked your dog.
Now it's only worth $7.2 million. Nobody's doing that. I'm sorry. I thought Manny said, finally, I feel a-hole. Well, you know.
Well,
I mean, it is.
Reset.
You know, it is.
Hugh Janus.
That's the drop that should have been there. But somebody, you know, just fills the space. Damian Fowler. James, that just put bulldog talk. That's just bulldog talk. Exactly right. James, you went so long without being a word timeout. You know, like, it's just, this very much is Utah should build an upper deck to block the Mountain View. This very much is Preston Stone is going to be an amazing
clean cut.
You know,
Stay hard.
Danny Kiger, Jake, thank your dad because your mom wasn't even in the mood the night you were conceived. I made it happen.
I wasn't there, so I can't speak.
I made it happen. I wasn't there. No, I'm not playing your games. Joey B, Monty, Olive Garden or Macaroni Grill?
Oh, see, now that's a great debate right there.
It just went on the Italian joint. We ate that in Chicago. Oh my God. There's one in Scottsdale on Rush Street.
Yeah, Maggiano's.
Maggiano's or Olive Garden. Macaroni Grill. It's okay. Olive Garden, Maggiano's, chicken parm, please. It's way better. Mateo's in downtown Salt Lake City. Come on now. Do you know what we did? You guys want to be disappointed in us again today for the 8th time? We played golf Saturday morning up at Park City Muni. And then we were supposed to go to Celia Mia. Is that what it's called? Something like that.
Something like that. Some great Italian place.
And we decided, instead of going to Cecilia Mia, that we were going to drive up into the mountains and picnic. So, yeah, Cecilia Mia. Mrs. Monty and I went to the grocery store, got a bunch of charcuterie type accoutrements, drove up Mill Creek Canyon. We were all excited to drive to the top of the mountain. The road was closed a quarter of the way up.
I'll try to stay calm and not curse.
So we just pulled over next to a river. Jake had his dog. And we ate charcuterie next to a river.
It was kind of cool.
It was very nice. I loved it. Take a guess what WSC is getting in TV revenue. Don't say it out loud. You're going to hurt people's feelings. Is St. Mary's leaving the WCC? Would be a Big West WCC merger be on the table, or are they still a step up from the Big West? Still a step up, I would think. Mike says Wednesday will be press conference from the Pac-12. Well,
we shall see.
James is trying to put a top deck in San Marcos. I believe he is. What's your thought on Chick-fil-A's peach milkshake, Monty?
Never had one, but it just came back.
It's it's okay. Chick-fil-A sucks. Be better. Don't do Chick-fil-A, please.
Vexes me.
I don't remember what day it was even now. It might have been Saturday. Went to the chiropractor, played golf, went to the chiropractor, got cracked. And then, yeah, we went to Village Baker. It's Village Baker, Chick-fil-A, Taco Bell, Jack in the Box. I'm taking Village Baker. I think Chick-fil-A is so disgustingly average. Just so average. You know. Gonzaga. Okay. You know, I say potato, you say Gonzaga.
Gonzaga.
You know. Olive Garden, hands down, I would do unspeakable things for those breadsticks. Me too. Right? You were obviously there just in the sack swimming around. Yeah.
Yeah. You know,
I hadn't been shot out the pipe yet.
Yeah, I hadn't been commissioned yet. You know, I was still in the rat race to be alive. So, you know.
Whataburger's banana pudding shake is awesome. Never had it.
Okay. Whataburger and the San Antonio Spurs about a half hour ago announced a partnership for the draft. On draft day, you can go in and get a honey chicken biscuit.
In all markets?
No, it's select markets. Yeah, I have to pull it back up. But
I'm a big Whataburger fan, and Jake hates it.
Whataburger is supposed to be a burger joint, hence the name, and you're offering honey chicken biscuits? What is this? Like, what are we doing?
It's a good question. I mean, I feel like we're living life right if we're at Whataburger. Dude. Although, you guys, you want to know the kind of misery I live in? Mrs. Monty's like, hey, do you want to get a milkshake? No, I don't. Because you and I both know I'm going to feel terrible afterward. I love milkshakes. Although we got together last night and had a little dinner and made these awesome chicken burgers that were
phenomenal.
Jake brought frozen apple pie. There's a Costco 35 seconds from his front door. He gets frozen apple pie.
This is the guy that says to me, hey, you know, can't be eating a lot of sugar, you know.
It's Father's Day. It's one day.
You know, I'm like, all right, well, what's a happy medium? Because I'm obviously the apple pie guy on the program. And I was like, all right, Marie Callender's crumble apple pie. Tell me you didn't love it. You're telling me you didn't love every bite of that apple pie. Come on.
I'm fat, so of course I enjoyed it. It's not Costco apple pie. Could throw in a little a la mode on that? Cheapskate. Anyway, the point is,
you know,
this guy brings on Father's Day, he brings frozen apple pie.
I'll keep that in mind for next year, bro.
Oh, well, next year,
I mean,
it's all going to be different. I'm kidding. It was actually really good, but you know. I would pull a Shannon Sharp or a P. Diddy for some breadsticks.
Dude, chill.
Wow.
Out, dog.
Really? How about that Rafael Devers trade? I don't know how you explain it. How about the Bain trade? Where if anybody wants to explain to me the Bain trade, is that not one of the worst trades in the history of the NBA? And people are you sent 4 unprotected first round picks in a pick swap. Desmond Bain to the Magic, who sent Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Cole Anthony, and I said it, 4 unprotected first round picks in a pick swap. For Desmond Bain, 4 unprotected. I said 4 unprotected first round picks. I give up.
And people are commenting that 2K and the ESPN trade machine are consistently saying no to that because of the picks. Like,
and then Devers to the Giants in June.
2 words: Buster Posey.
In June.
Buddy saw an opportunity and got right in the middle of that thing.
And does anybody want to explain to me just the depths of stupidity on the Boston Red Sox here. You're a playoff team. And so let me get this right real quick. Give me 30 seconds on baseball. Heavens to Betsy. You went to Rafael Devers and you said, hey, fat ass, you're not good enough to play defense in Major League Baseball. You're now a DH for the rest of your career. And like 35 seconds later, you needed a first baseman. Hey, Rafi, we got an idea, buddy. Here, look, let's buy you a steak. Come on in. We want to talk about this idea we have. Why don't we put you at first base? Wait, you said I was too fat and my defensive days are over. I never, what? No. You misunderstood or misheard.
Like.
You misquoted me.
Right.
And so he said, no, I'm not playing first base. And they threatened to send him home. And he said, okay, cool. So one thing led to another. The owner stepped in, and Rafael Devers allegedly told the owner, yeah, you can trade me because I don't ever want to play another game here. So in the middle of June, they traded him to the San Francisco Giants? What? You figure it out. And just again, the Cubs didn't need Rafael Devers.
Didn't have the vision to go get him.
Top 15 hitter in all of baseball. Can play the corners. Don't really have a first baseman or a third baseman. You know, that's why I just pay my season ticket bill and the Cubs do whatever they want with my money, except spend it on players. Yeah. I'm so bitter. Monty Show first member. Costco chicken bake is goated. Love it. You know what I've recently fallen in love with? Costco serving those chocolate chip cookies.
Mm-hmm.
I've only had one in like the last 6 weeks. Well, one ever. I tried my first one like 6 weeks ago. Was really good. I'm in a terrible space as a man, just from like a, hey, that's a guy, he's got testosterone perspective.
Right. Such as in like.
Because again, we were starving Saturday trying to figure out what to eat. We were so hungry and frankly, a little tired. I couldn't make a food decision. We're at Costco and my wife's like, should we just go to the food court? I'm like, nah. And I just stared at that chocolate chip cookie on the menu board. So I went through the line. I want it. Like my loins were tightening up for a chocolate. Didn't get it. Did not get it.
Biggest kick in the balls you'll ever get.
And the worst part is we had to walk out in a very busy Costco with a dude's ass crack in front of me.
Fucking A.
That took like 5 minutes to get through the door checker dude, lady, people. And this
the receipt scanner lady.
Yeah, and this guy's ass crack is all up in my face for like 5 minutes. It was lose-lose. Maury says Costco just added frozen lemonade. Did not know that. I got a Blackstone grill 2 weeks ago, and I'm hooked on it. Jake, do you have a Blackstone grill?
It's bomb, dude.
Where'd you get it?
From you.
Mm-hmm. I bought him a Blackstone grill. Doesn't even say Happy Father's Day. Damian Fowler. Okay. Damian Fowler, you all know why Jake is, quote, an apple pie guy, don't you?
What's the inference there?
I don't know. Jeremiah Champion, apple pie equals American pie. Dude, I love me some American pie, boy. Joey B. LMAO, Jake is now defeated and deflated. A la mode and Costco apple pie coming soon to Monty's front door for 4th of July.
Yeah, I'm going to get him like a pallet of apple pies just to prove a point, you know?
We actually had a very nice Father's Day weekend. So, Danny Kiger, Jake's back of the napkin calculations to finance that Costco apple pie for
Kiss my butt.
Hey, man.
Yeah, Amex, can I get a credit line extension? I got to get some apple pie.
Thank you.
Thank you. Chris says Bane for a dozen first rounders. You figure it out because I can't. John Hamm, I would swallow for that cinnamon.
Okay, dude. Bro, are you out of your mind? We're out here talking about swallowing.
Guy builds 1,000 houses. They don't call him a home builder, but one cinnamon roll.
Dude, what am I supposed to do with that, John?
Macaque.
Like,
you know, John Hamm, Blackstone deserves a thank you 100%. No, Jake doesn't like your suggestions of thankfulness. Oh my God. But Monty. Hey, Monty. Sorry, Monty. Sounds like you were behind my dad at Costco. Is it so much to ask that you don't wear and1 basketball shorts anymore?
Doesn't get any more red, white, and blue than that.
Right? Like this dude is just a country dude. He's got on a trucker snapback. He's got like 31 kids.
Overalls?
No, he's wearing and1 basketball shorts and a t-shirt. Fat. And that butt crack is just out.
Nah.
Come on,
fine.
Man. Come on, man. Anyway, all right. Hour number 2 of the Monty Show, as always, presented by The Advocates at theadvocates.com. The best injury attorneys in the business is Greg Sankey, the devil. Greg Sankey versus Tony Petiti in a death match. Who's going to win? We'll tell you in 30 seconds.
When you've been injured in an accident, you need a lawyer, and you deserve an advocate, because every accident has a ripple effect. It affects your time, your health, your ability to make money, everything. That's where the advocates can help. Speaking with an attorney is simple and 100% free. We're available 24/7 for your convenience, and we'll take on the claims process so you can rest easy. Because you're not just a client to us, you're a person, and you deserve the best help you can get. You deserve an advocate.
From theadvocates.com, the best injury attorneys in the business. You guys, I love the fact that it costs you nothing out of pocket to work with the advocates. You don't pay them. You get a settlement. The advocates get paid. That's why I say you don't pay the advocates unless and until they win your case. You never reach into your pocket. So what do you have to lose? If you've been in a car accident, dude, I almost got murked on Saturday night. We're driving up Mill Creek Canyon. I'm in the Beamer with Mrs. Monty, cruising on the 15 freeway.
Dude.
This white SUV comes flying up a merge lane, cuts in front of me. So I slide open into the wide open lane next to me, right up until that truck, a car carrier truck, who's doing 75 miles an hour on a freeway, slides over. I got to brake, move back to the right. Like,
dude.
Now, of course, Mrs. Monty's like, why do you drive like this?
Is that what she said, dude?
Yeah, it's not my fault. That was wholly not my fault. And my wife's like, what are you doing?
They're trying to kill me.
This is why I don't like you driving.
There's some wild shit going on.
Like,
dude,
I had no fault in that situation. Yet I'm a guy driving a car, so it's my fault. But I thought about the advocates because I'm telling you, situations like that don't often end well unless you have driving skills like me. Just call me Danny Sullivan.
Yeah.
The point is, if you get into an accident, you get hit by a truck, if you're on your bike and the worst happens, don't hesitate. Have the advocates on speed dial or get to theadvocates.com where you can chat with an injury attorney 24/7, 365 at theadvocates.com. Are you guys at all seeing this fissure developing between the Big Ten and the SEC? You know, they have this partnership where they control the lion's share of the college football playoff. And ultimately, it is up to Tony Petiti and Greg Sankey where this tournament goes. But now there is a significant difference of opinion in how the college football playoff should be selected and seeded. And I am 100% in on Greg Sankey's way of thinking. I am a big believer that strength of schedule should be the overwhelming hammer in whether or not you, A, make the college football playoff, and B, where you are seated. And everybody's already saying, I can hear you from here. Oh, that's just because you're an SEC homer. No, I just like really good college football. And there is no question the best college football in this country lies in the SEC. Their strength of schedule numbers don't lie. You can look at any metric you want. Strength of schedule lies in the SEC. So, of course, Greg Sankey is saying strength of schedule should be a significant factor in who's in and who's out and where they're seated. And I want to know, what is the argument against that? Because too many times, as we've talked about on this show, whether it's the Big 12, certainly the Big 10, the ACC, when you don't have depth in your conference and your top 1 or 2 teams consistently end up winning the conference and going to the college football playoff, how is that good for the sport? How is that any kind of measure of what quality your conference is? And I love this argument that, oh, Monty, Ohio State and those dirtbag cheaters in Ann Arbor, back-to-back champions, we're the best conference. No, you're not. No, you're not. What about Happy Valley, cock on thigh? How did they do in the college football playoff last year? Terrible. Terrible. Did USC even make it? How did Oregon do last year? Because the Big Ten doesn't have the depth at this point, which they can build. And if you ask Lincoln, and if you go ask good old Danny Lanning up in Eugene.
Hey, Dan.
Hey, Danny boy, they're building depth. They are better football teams today than they were a year ago. But now you have to go out on the field and prove it. Strength of schedule should be a metric that is imperative if you want to get into the college football playoff. Is it enough to play 9 conference games anymore? Oh, okay, you don't want to play every game be a conference game? Okay, well then let's use a secondary metric of your record versus power opponents. And let's ding you for playing G5 out of conference games. To me, Jake, that makes the most sense, and I really think it's the only path forward.
Absolutely, and it makes perfect sense as to why the SEC would want to lean on strength of schedule and why the SEC and the Big Ten should continue to schedule each other. I think that this notion that somehow the G5's opportunity in the college football playoff is somehow going to expand or it's going to get better is ridiculous to me, because the SEC wants nothing to do with the G5 or any lower conference that doesn't have quality players, and basically just any team that's not a quality opponent on your schedule is no longer of interest to the Power Four, in my opinion. And I think, the SEC is in the driver's seat for all this, and the Big Ten is just going to have to decide how much of a fight and on what topics do you want to put up that fight, right? Like, how much are you going to fight, and what are you going to be the hill that you're going to die on? Because I'm telling you right now, strength of schedule is not that hill. You should fall in line with this. This makes perfect sense. It appeases your TV partners. It helps you in the college football playoff discussion. Like, that all makes sense to me. The question's going to be when we get a little further along in the process with the Super League or whatever this NFL minor league model is going to be, who ultimately is going to be making the decision, because the Big Ten obviously makes a crap load of money right now. But Greg Sankey has been that guy. Greg Sankey, not Tony Petitti, was meeting with the president. Greg Sankey, not Tony Petitti, was meeting with all kinds of private equity firms and all these people. So it would appear to me that Greg is clearly the one in the driver's seat representing all of college football to the rest of the world.
But should he be? I think he should.
I don't know how you say otherwise.
I don't even know who else it would be.
Yeah.
Because in my opinion, if we're talking about the business of college athletics, who's doing it better than the SEC?
Nobody.
If you look at Brett Yormark, I think he is a distant second. I think what Brett Yormark's done for the Big 12 in driving revenue, creating business units, building infrastructure, raising the bar and the expectations, expanding his conference with quality membership, I think Brett Yormark's number 2. Other than that, I think Tony Petitti and Jim Phillips, they're all just kind of watching. Jim Phillips, because he's in court constantly fighting. Okay, totally get it. In my opinion, if you are not playing all power teams on your schedule, in your conference and otherwise, you're not trying to do everything you can do to build the best strength of schedule and build the best football team. And I think that should be the only factor. And this idea that, hey, if Jordan Travis doesn't get hurt, but he did get hurt.
Yeah.
He did get hurt. And I understand, the bye week. Well, that's the system that was in place. And the teams on the bye did horrendously in the college football playoff.
It's a system you guys agreed to.
It's what you agreed to.
Yeah.
I think when this new entity is formed, if Greg Sankey is not the commissioner of college football, there should be no commissioner. So I would love it in the comments section. You tell me, how should we determine who's in and who's out when it comes to the college football playoff? I believe that it is only strength of schedule. I believe that strength of schedule is a metric you need to, in detail, define. And I'm here for this. I was talking to a buddy of mine who works in the media today, who was telling me, well, I don't want to hear about recruiting rankings when it comes to strength of schedule. Hundo P. I completely agree.
What do you mean by that?
Because there's a lot of people who build recruiting, the quality of a recruiting class into strength of schedule. I don't think that should matter any way, shape, or form. If we're doing because you have to have preseason rankings, right? I think you have to have a starting point. On-field performance from the previous season, your strength of schedule and your record against power conference opponents should determine your rank the next preseason. I think it's as simple as that. I was also, beset with this idea that, oh, well, if you won the national championship last year, you should be the number one team. Nonsense. Erroneous.
Yeah.
You have that drop yet?
No.
Thanks. Erroneous on all counts. Because Will Howard graduated and...
See, but here's the thing, though. You can't, on one hand, say, to me, that's having it both ways in a sense. On one hand, you have people saying, okay, well, you shouldn't include the recruiting class in the offseason that you had into the week 0 ranking. But then at the same time, well, hey, you can't have last year's national championship winner be the number one team because Will Howard or whoever went to the NFL. So do we either have to care about the quality or the players that you have on your roster now or not care, right? And to me, if we're doing an off-season ranking, in my opinion, the players should matter because that's what's going to ultimately decide how good your team is. And I agree, your strength of schedule from last year absolutely should matter. Like if just for conversation's sake, if Boise State had the best recruiting class, but they played the schedule they played last year, we're obviously not putting them in the top 10, right? You're not doing that. But in my opinion, you had the best recruiting class. Theoretically, you're obviously going to dominate at your level. What can we project forward based on what you did in the college football playoff and the players you added as to what we should rank you? So for me, in the college football playoff, moving forward, yeah, your recruiting class obviously wouldn't matter. It's going to be what you did that season. But heading into a new season, I kind of feel like we should include what you did in recruiting just because...
You gotta. If you want to add player evaluation, that's clearly something you're going to do for the players who are on the field, who we've seen perform. I don't care if Jimmy Cagney, the freshman quarterback, is amazing. You're not playing him over Arch Manning, so why do I give a rat's ass with his recruiting his 4-star?
And we should clarify. If we're talking about the college football playoff ranking, there's a reason that ranking doesn't come out until later in the year.
But I also think that preseason polls and the AP soccer writers poll, they matter because we've given them this artificial value.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm telling you is when it comes to determining the college football playoff, strength of schedule, and your record against P4 opponents should be almost the only two that matter. That should be the metric. So, losers like Ward Manuel can't come in and rig the system to give the Big Ten a free pass.
Right.
It cannot work that way. It just cannot work that way.
See, and I think this is the problem for college football. This is precisely what we talk about all the time. Like, preseason rankings would not mean anything if you had the NFL minor league model as an example. Like, if we had that kind of model, we'd be able to just sit here and talk about like, hey, yeah, this is what you did last year. This was your recruiting class. Here's your schedule. This is what we think you're going to do. And we wouldn't have to worry about rankings or access or any of that. It would just simply be a straight up conversation. Just the same way that you can say, oh, well, the Titans added Cam Ward in the draft. He's looked really good in OTAs and minicamp, and he's He's been doing everything as far as watching film.
Yeah.
Like, you can follow all those storylines and project forward and say, yeah, this is what this team should look like. This is, the over under 7 wins or whatever. Like, but we can't do that in college football, because if you say, hey, well, low end team had this amazing recruiting class, but they didn't really play. Indiana had an incredible recruiting class, but they didn't really play anybody last year, and they look like a fool in the college football playoff. Well, we got to knock them down a little bit. They were undefeated heading into the college football playoff, but you didn't play anybody, so now we got to knock you down. So I just think it's this rock and a hard place thing. And yeah, I would agree that with the CFP rankings specifically, I would never include recruiting classes ever. That should never be in the conversation. The AP and all that, I think everyone damn well knows that week 0 ranking, is exactly that, and that it's going to look entirely different, 10 weeks into the season or whatever. Like, it's just not, you know what I mean? It's just not that consequential.
I think the AP poll is a disgrace.
Yeah.
The fact that you have MLS writers voting for college football, they clearly have no idea what they're doing. Ranking SMU ahead of BYU, complete fraudulently put together then. That tells me you don't know what you're talking about.
It shows me you're not watching college football.
BYU went to Dallas and beat SMU, and you have the majority, and we did a breakdown on it last year, where you had soccer writers who clearly didn't watch college football voting in the AP poll.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's garbage. It is absolute garbage, in my opinion. I side with Greg Sankey on this, and I'm happy to be the only one who cares. I'm happy to be the only one that thinks that Greg Sankey does a good job, because every time we talk about him on the show, you guys all lose your minds over it, which is fine. I
think he does a good job. I think the problem for Greg is that there's so much emotion from college football fan that they can't separate, hey, he's representing the greater good of college football versus he's representing the SEC's interests.
Yeah.
And that's what people get kind of, a little pissy about, frankly, is like, well, what is Greg really trying to do here? Because the next time I hear a fan in our comments section say that Greg is only out for the SEC and that's all he cares about, won't be the last time. And what's hard is that I wouldn't have anybody else do it. I like Brett Yormark a lot. The reality is he hasn't earned that post. Greg Sankey has earned that post. And it's not an indictment on Brett. It's just a reality of what we have. So I just sit here and I say, like, when we start talking about this, it really kind of puts into perspective the other issues in college football and their size or lack thereof. Like, the Pac-12 Mountain West situation is nothing. It is irrelevant to the SEC and the leaders of college football putting together a system in tandem with the House settlement and NIL Go that actually works. Like, that to me is what stands out as like massive issue right here. Greg's trying to figure it out. You guys want to tear this dude down, and you guys just want to sit here and say, oh, well, the Pac-12 should do this. And it's like, dude, we get it, bro. There are levels to this game, but at least give Greg Sankey enough credit to say, hey, man, you are the guy, and whether we like it or not, like, we're following you.
All right, let's get to your comments. What side do you come down on? Should strength of schedule be the significant hammer when it comes to who's seated where? And do you put blame? How do you feel about Greg Sankey? Because overwhelmingly, every time this comes up, everybody disagrees and says Greg Sankey's the devil. Okay, tell me why. Backwoods Mike Smith, it's the wife's job to blame the husband's job to deny everything. And I did do that in the driving situation. Darth Sankey versus Darth Petiti, where's Gloria Skywalker when you need her, right? Yeah, and I think it's unfortunate that I don't know that the G5 can continue in the long term to be part of the college football playoff equation, because it does not make sense financially. Like, if it was basketball and you have, you look at the Mountain West versus the Pac-12 in basketball, okay, we can have an argument about who's better and what's equal, and I'm totally good with that. But when we're talking about football and the college football playoff, there's just not much of a conversation to be had. There really is not. Darth Sankey, I think, is a very pervasive name. People love that.
Yeah.
Let's see. Fight on Natties. Of course, ESPN's going to make those power rankings. It's a bunch of horse poo-poo. Well, I don't disagree with you on that. That's their job.
But again, the FPI is not the same as the AP. You understand that, right?
The FPI, in my opinion, is the gold standard of creating an understanding of good versus bad football teams. And strength of schedule is a very big part of that. Now, are you projecting certain strengths of schedules in May? Yeah, you are. There's no question about that.
Yeah.
And I think it's hard not to.
But to the SEC's point, we don't have to project whether they're going to have the best strength of schedule.
We don't. And in October, nobody's projecting anything.
Yeah.
There's no more, I think that's the hammer, in my opinion. Schools should get penalized for scheduling and playing FCS schools. Okay.
Well, but the reality
I
is,
don't disagree with that.
The reality is they are being penalized because if you play a soft schedule, you're not getting the same traction as a team that's playing just this juggernaut of a schedule. And that's what I think Greg is trying to get to is Ole Miss should have been in.
Yeah.
Bama, without a doubt, should have been in. I mean, and I don't even think that that's like most people don't even argue that fact. We all agree on that. So I just think we finally had a CFP bracket this past year that had too many tryhards and not enough blue bloods. And people were pissed off enough about it that now we're getting hey, we need to have strength of schedule, SMU, the Boise State, the Indiana. Those can't be in, dude, when Texas and Ohio State are in that same conversation. Yep. Just not possible.
Totally agree. It's Keaton got himself filtered, so I don't know what you said.
What are you doing? What are you doing?
Catch me outside. How about that?
What
are you doing?
Seth Hatmaker, strength should be a weighted metric with wins, losses, defeats, and points.
Isn't that what defines the win or the loss, though?
Yeah.
The strength of the opponent you're playing.
Yeah, I think everybody's got their own definition. But I think strength of schedule, and I got laughed at to a certain extent when I said this last week. I was doing a radio interview and I said, I should be able to look at your schedule and determine if it's good or bad. I should be able to, if I go down an average Indiana schedule last year, that's a crappy strength of schedule.
Yeah. And you died on that hill. You were about that for most of the season.
If I go Georgia, if I go Alabama, if I go ask anybody in the SEC, I don't have to, are they any good? Or I don't know about that. I know all of those teams are really good.
But what does everyone say about that, though? Oh, well, you're just an SEC homer. Well, no, it's just a convenient fact that most of the good teams in college football are in the SEC.
And it's what I said about Notre Dame. We don't play enough good teams. We were not physically ready for Ohio State. We don't play. We have one receiver that runs the same exact route every play. It's not hard to cover that guy. John Ham, strength of schedule should 100% be a big part of the metrics, but we cannot act like it's the end-all, be-all. Many of the components of strength of schedule are built in even before a game is played. Well, I think to a certain extent, but largely, strength of schedule is always going to be about who you've played and who that team is made up of. How they've performed historically 5 years ago is meaningless. And I think people like Big Ten fan wants to say, well, Michigan, no. Minnesota, Penn State is a historically average football team. I don't care what they had 5 years ago. What I care about is who are your returning proven players? Who are you playing? Who did they play? Who's left for you to play? Who have they played? And how have you done in your non-conference games against other P4 teams, opponents? That's what should make up the majority of that conversation. It's Keaton says, I did not say anything filter worthy. That's crazy. I provided a timestamp to a quote. Well, YouTube doesn't filter you for putting timestamps in comments. And what are you timestamping a quote about? I have no idea. If you're, I have no idea what you're commenting about. So if you are trying to prove a point about something I said about Greg Sankey, dude, I have no idea what you're talking about. Everything is on this channel. Go back and listen. It is all there. You didn't get filtered because you used a timestamp. And my guess is because you're already back in the comments, you got filtered probably for a minute. So you probably used emojis, a bunch of capital letters, whatever you did. Like, it is what it is. YouTube does not filter people for no reason. Until all the major conferences have the same number of conference games, strength of schedule importance is horse poo-poo. It is exactly the opposite of that.
That's not true, dude.
That's exactly why strength of schedule is so important. Because again, this argument, how many conference games should the SEC be playing? They're not playing as many as everybody else, and their strength of schedule is still better. Yeah, and when you have scumbags like Ward Manuel making decisions, the SEC gets left on the outside in. It can't be that way. In my opinion, you have to make it so it's not a human being making a decision, because corrupt scumbags like Ward Manuel are always going to put, Penn State in an easy slot and give Ohio State the most difficult run to a championship. Now, hey, feathers in their cap because Ohio State ran the table. Ward Manuel should never been put in that position. You cannot trust. He's a known scumbag liar. You cannot trust him.
Mm-hmm.
He employs people who lie routinely.
And the fact that the system gave him that opportunity is incredible.
Proven liars. Accused, heinous felons. And you want that guy to be the chairman. And look what you got. You got one of the worst college football playoffs we've ever seen. Well, it's Michigan, so I don't know why we would expect anything better. Timestamps are tricky. Don't get caught in the void. Okay. Fight on. But Monty, Notre Dame punched Georgia in the mouth and they didn't do anything about it. Well,
yeah, but what did it take for that to happen?
Gunnar Stockton.
Yeah.
Gunnar Stockton wasn't ready. Playing it. I don't know. If Beck is healthy, does Georgia lose that game or win that game? I don't know. He wasn't, so we will never know.
Mm-hmm.
It's the targeting penalty
that Notre Dame punched Georgia. No, they didn't punch Georgia in the mouth, dude. They won the game. But
Notre Dame made plays.
Yeah.
There's no question. I'm not telling you Notre Dame was a bad football team. The first person that tells you, or the next person that tells you Notre Dame was as physical as Georgia will be the first, because that just never happened. That never happened. So that Notre Dame defense is as good as any defense in the country was last year. They were very, very good. But the offense was lackluster. The offense kept the other team in the game because we can't throw the ball really. Love was hurt most of the year and was hurt in the playoff with that knee. Like, we had issues, and we're not well coached at Notre Dame. So is what it is. Strength of schedule is okay for a metric, but if you play a G5 or below, it should be held against you. Absolutely.
Yes.
No question about it. And if you lose, you should be hammered. Absolutely. If you lose, and my point is, if you lose to NIU and you don't have a make good game, and SC is not a make good game, that's the real issue. You beat Texas A&M at Kyle, but you lose to Northern Illinois at home. What should that do to the Texas A&M win? Should probably downgrade the Texas A&M win. Right? I mean,
yeah, no doubt.
You're playing a bunch of neutral site games. I love playing Notre Dame playing football at Yankee Stadium, but that's a neutral site game that you should be downgraded for. Right? I mean,
here, let me be the asshole. They want Notre Dame on TV, so it doesn't downgrade the loss.
That's Notre Dame. Why do you think Notre Dame's got a free pass? You're ranked among the top 12 or soon to be the top 16. You're in.
Yeah.
Because they bring millions of dollars in viewers. That's why. Welcome to the nightmare. Strength of schedule should be one of the main pillars of how teams are ranked. Last year, CFP had some teams in that didn't have a strong schedule, even though their record was really good. Beating up the also-rans, Alabama playing Mercer in November, can't have it.
Yeah, and that's where I struggle with like this comment, like record, when we say things like, even though your record was really good, just because you're undefeated, this is the lesson. Just because you're undefeated doesn't mean your record's really good.
No.
It just looks sexy on a piece of paper.
No.
Like, that's the hard part. And that's where, again, we get accused of being SEC homers. It's not my fault. I didn't do anything wrong that Bama's 9-3 in the SEC and got piped. Like,
yeah. But Eric's not wrong. Big 12 is historically an average conference. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All its best members make up the SEC and the Big 10.
So when you talk about strength of schedule, now we got to start looking at, okay, well, what was a middle of the road Big 12 team versus Indiana's 13-0 or whatever they finished at. You know what I mean?
Does Texas beating Alabama or Georgia or a top tier SEC team equal BYU beating Oak State, Baylor, TCU? No. This is, again, my point of Joey McGuire needs to come through. Baylor needs to win 10 games. Hoover and the boys in Fort Worth need to have a huge season. Like the Big 12 has got to find multiple big brands that can compete and win. The Big 12 needs Arizona State to be just as good without Scat as they are last year with him. You have to. You have to. You have, in my opinion, a mediocre Big 10 that's not deep at all, that has the best team in college football last year and scumbag cheaters 2 years ago. The SEC has dynasties in Georgia and Alabama that get the benefit of the doubt, and their commissioners in control. The Big 12 has zero room for error. This is BYU when they were an independent. You either go undefeated or you don't go anywhere. Because if you lose one game, you lost all 10 of them. That's the reality of life in the Big 12. If you are Colorado and BYU, you lost late in the season, you're out because you don't get the benefit of the doubt. Arizona State wouldn't have gotten in if the system was the way they wanted it, but they won the conference. So now you're in, right? But what about Clemson? What about multiple ACC teams in last year? Did SMU belong in? Certainly not. But they got in. So either way. Toot pants. In addition to strength of schedule, what about home versus away and margin of victory? I think they're very secondary. I want strength of schedule and your record against P4 opponents. Then if you're still tied, okay, how tight are your jock straps on second down? We're going to need to get a tape measure out.
Right.
Too much?
No.
Probably too much. But it's Keaton. Do you do have a solid point? 4 million is much different than 8 million. Who's making 8 million and who's making 4 million? So maybe I'm not the one that should be discussing this with you. Bro, I have no idea what you guys are talking about. So you can explain it, or YouTube sometimes does random filter. I have been filtered, then went back with the exact same post and it did not get filtered. Certainly could be. AI is a beautiful thing. But Monty, thanks a lot. I'm all saying, okay. If you guys want to explain what you're talking about, loop us all in here. That'd be great. I think that's all they're doing too. Okay. One would think the best conferences would get at least one team in the Natty. One would think. But maybe I'm too hard on Notre Dame last year.
I mean, too hard on them.
Yep.
I mean, you have mediocre quarterback, banged up running back, great defense. I mean, you're a good team, but the reality is you're there because they want you on TV. You weren't one of the best teams in college football, in my opinion.
Yeah, we'll see. Monty was kind of making my argument. If you equalize the conference game number, then it's more valid to remove the human element. I would agree with that. If you don't standardize it, the conference can game the system. I don't even disagree with that. Honest to God, I think everybody should play the same amount of conference games. But then I don't want to hear you guys bitching and moaning about the SEC dominating the college football playoff.
Yeah.
Because they will.
They will.
By making the SEC play more games, and I don't think people understand this. if the SEC agrees to play more games, why would they agree to that? Oh, because we're at 16. And now it's going to be, 5 and 11. And they're going to dominate the 11. That would be the only reason that you would move the SEC to play that many conference games. Because I just don't, like, if I look at any of their schedules last year, right? If I look at any of their schedules, and I think this goes for the G5 as well. Certainly, you look at, and again, I'll use Texas last year. Okay. If I look at Texas last year and I say, okay, what were their good wins? Was Michigan a good win last year? No, it really wasn't. Their good wins. Was Oklahoma a good win last year? No, it probably wasn't. Was the loss to Georgia a good loss? Yes. If you're going to lose to one of the best teams in the country, as one of the best teams in the country. And they did. I think their best win is probably a number 20 Texas A&M team. But why did they get all the opportunity at the end of the year? Because look at their schedule. At least they had Michigan, who was 10th in the country at the time. And it was one of the biggest TV audience games of the year. Remember that at the Big House, and everybody was thrilled, right? And then they go on to play UTSA and UL Monroe. That's the argument that people are making. But you look, they played Texas A&M, Kentucky, Arkansas, Florida, Vandy, Georgia, Oklahoma, Mississippi State. And then they played a conference championship game against Georgia. You want them to play 9 conference games? I'm with you. Replace UL Monroe or UTSA. I am with you. But do you see the advantage if they replace UL Monroe with Ole Miss and they beat Ole Miss or Alabama? That's not good for you. That's not good for the Big Ten. That's not good for the Big 12. That's certainly not good for the ACC, who I believe is saying they're never going to play another college football game. Because if you're the ACC and it's 5-11, you still get your 2 teams in. But now where's the benefit of the doubt going to go? What's going to go to Texas because they played Ole Miss instead of UL Monroe? And Greg Sankey sitting on top of the pyramid. Like, I just hope you understand the unintended consequences of making them play a 9th game.
I'm not so confident that in the 5-11 model, the ACC or the Big 12 would get 2 in. I mean, there will be years where you only get the 1 in. Like,
yeah, I mean, you think about the 4 conference champions in Notre Dame, a G5, right? They're 6. Who's taking those 10 spots?
I mean, you're going to get 3 more at a minimum, probably 4 more from the SEC.
Yeah.
You're going to get Penn State, Oregon, at some point, USC. That's going to happen. Like, and then, whenever Michigan gets past the punishment, that's inevitably coming.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I'm saying, like, I'm here for Brett Yormark going on ESPN talking about, hey, we got to earn it on the field. And I love the Mark Harlan energy. Love it. But you better be ready to deal with, hey, we got to beat Texas or Georgia or somebody late in the year to go ahead and get into the CFP or to get get to that next level, because that's, to me, the danger of it. I understand the concept of, the 4-4, 2-2, 1-1-1 nonsense and not wanting to put yourself in a position to be looked at as half as worthy as the SEC and the Big Ten. Totally get it.
I think that's going to be really difficult. And I also go back to, like, the Pac-12 Mountain West thing, I think is really interesting. How many G5 teams are going to get into that college football playoff? As few as they can possibly have. 1
at most. You're not getting multiple.
Right? Because I think in the basketball, in the NCAA tournament, I think the Pac-12 has potential to be a 3-bid league, 4-bid league. I think the Mountain West is they're pretty close on bids. I think people probably sell GCU pretty short. But I think there's a real good chance that the Mountain West is going to continue to be, because Mountain West has been pretty damn good. Now, San Diego State, obviously, they lost a lot of good basketball teams. Utah State's a good basketball team. But I think when you start looking down the road, now you have no choice, especially if, let's say, and the people that we were talking to about the Pac-12 TV's deal, and think about this. If the Pac-12 does get all the way up to $7 million, right? And let's say that the Mountain West winds up at $5 million. How vital is it that you get a spot in the college football playoff at those numbers? It is not negotiable for the Mountain West. You have got to find ways to replace the football quality that you lost. And now it is imperative that you put at least 4 teams in the NCAA tournament every year. Because if you land at $5 million, and if what we're hearing is right about the Pac-12, if they get that $65 million number, if that is in fact the number, and they eclipse the $7 million number, I think the ceiling for the Mountain West at that point would be $5 million. Because I think, frankly, both of them are $4 to $6 million. That's my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But if our sources are right and they're going to end up at $65 million, I think now you have got to find a way to get your conference in the college football playoff. What does that $4 million mean when you're making $5 million per year per school? Jeez Louise.
A lot.
That is huge money at that point. Huge money. And if you're only getting one team in the college football playoff and 1 or 2 teams in the NCAA tournament, you can't survive on that. So all of this stuff where we're talking about, hey, this conference is worth $7 million, this one's worth $5 million, and you've got to get multiple teams in. It's all this formulaic stuff. My opinion is, I think you're still going to wind up with one G5 in there. I don't think that anybody is going to acquiesce and, well, let's just give the G5 2 spots. No, I don't think that's happening.
Nope.
And I'll go back to what I said about Memphis. Like all of the Pac-12 people are like, oh, we want Memphis in. Do you know? Because which one of your, because that's a pretty good football conference. That's a pretty good football team, rather. You want to, does Boise State want Memphis in the conference? Because I think Boise State is ultimately, if you said, who do you think it's in from the Pac-12? Well, you're going to default to Boise State. I think Memphis changes that. And I don't think there's any way Memphis takes all of their sports to the Pac-12. You want Memphis as a basketball property in your conference because they're going to the NCAA tournament. But if you're Memphis, are you going to do that in the Pac-12 or the Big East? And that is purely a guess. I have not heard that they would join the Big East. But I'm just saying, if they join the Pac-12 as a football only, that's why this G5 equation, how many G5 teams are going to get into the playoff, and that's huge for the Mountain West and the Pac-12 situation. Massive. Right. Because who else would it even be? I have not the slightest idea what other G5, the highest ranked G5 conference champion. No idea who that would even be. Not a clue who that would even be. So anyway, it's all hyperbole.
Yeah.
We'll find. I think we will get an answer to a lot of this in the coming weeks. Certainly the Pac-12 is going to have news on a weekly basis, I would think. And we'll get clarity on that situation pretty quick. And then I don't think there's any doubt that the SEC, the Big Ten, the college football playoff, you're not going to let this linger and hang around forever. I just don't think you have time to do it. Yeah, I agree. You can't do that. And I still maintain the best case scenario, if you are a fan of a G5 conference, Mountain West, Pac-12, otherwise, you need to form a championship playoff system that will net you more money than $4 million, because you are going to be a killing field for most teams. You are a sacrificial lamb. And I love me some UNLV. And again, I think adding Northern Illinois, good football, almost doesn't matter unless you are perfect. And what happened to Boise last year? With one blemish on their record, how did they do in the college football playoff? Not well. Not well at all. So I think it's just really, I could go on, but I won't. Couple more comments. Joseph Harper, that's why I said under strength of schedule, SEC will have 50 to 60% of the playoff teams.
Yes, as they should.
And these unintended consequences, I know I say that all the time when we talk about these stories, but make the SEC play 9 games. Okay, watch what you wish for. Because what happens at 9 games? The SEC gets stronger. They don't get weaker. You're not breaking them. You're making them. Right? Like that's scaling up in quality wins. So that's a problem right there. And again, when you look at realignment, because when Texas State joins, and I think Ross or somebody had an article on this, when Texas State joins the Pac-12 here in a week or so,
Thamel.
What's the domino effect of that? Who's going where and what's getting moved around? Because nothing ever happens in a vacuum. Like, Texas State left, we're fine. You're not fine. Texas State leaving that conference is a big loss for that conference. I think you will see, because one of the things we don't talk about with the Mountain West and the Pac-12 not merging, well, you created a new G5 conference. So what did you actually do? Well, you watered down the G5. You didn't create more quality in the G5. You quite literally added another G5 conference that's going to be 2 or 3 teams deep, as most G5s are, right? That's all you did. And now you're in a position where that's going to be part of your problem. It wasn't a solution. That's part of your problem. And if you're the Mountain West and that Pac-12 TV deal comes out and it's $65 million, now you really got a problem.
Agreed.
Now you really have a problem, because that watered down effect means that the person who gets their TV deal second is going to take a substantially less amount of money than the one who got it first. Go back to the Big 12 and the Pac-12. Big 12 came out and got their TV deal first. Pac-12 died. Now, am I saying if the Pac-12 goes first and the Mountain West second, the Mountain West goes away? I don't think that's the case at all. But I think it makes your hill, again, you just start walking further uphill. So we'll see. It's this never-ending
cycle of death,
of unintended consequences, of pain, of struggle, because you added a G5 conference. Who was demanding that? And not to be redundant, I know this goes back to Pac-12 fan who's like, oh, we're going to be a P5 conference. Says who? And Pac-12 fan who constantly tells me, bro, I'm at the grocery store the other day talking to a guy about the Pac-12 situation. Oh, Oregon State and Washington State are going to leave this behind. They're going to a power conference. You went through all of this to leave that conference behind? You really think that in 5 years, or however long this next grant of rights is going to be, you really think in 5 years, the playing field's going to be the same and the calculus is the same? No, friends, it's completely different. Has the college football playoff stayed the same for more than 6 months? No. So you think after your grant of right expires, all of a sudden you can just walk away from that conference and go join a power conference? You really think that's going to be how that breaks down? You are out of your mind if you think that's how it's going to break down. And let me break news to you. It won't be Washington State and Oregon State who just decide to walk away. You think they went through all of this to leave the Pac-12 brand just behind with a bunch of dudes? You guys take it. No.
Hell no.
I don't think that's it. That is at all the case. I could see Boise doing that. I could see, frankly, I think Oregon State and Boise State could do that. Because, and again, I understand. I saw the comments over the weekend. You're just a Oregon State homer. Now I'm an Oregon State homer.
And
We
an
get
SEC
it.
homer and a Mountain West homer, and you're a Mormon and you're dying. We get it.
Right, old Mormon.
Right.
Trust me when I say Oregon State and Boise State, I could see doing that. Washington State doesn't have the money to do that. Do you understand how tepid the mood is at Washington State to put any more financial backing behind athletics after what they've been through for the last decade? It's been a decade of financial disappointment for Pac-12 teams. You think they're just going to put hundreds of millions of dollars at this point into the Pac-12 and just walk away? That's not happening. It's what people think is going to realistically take place.
Good luck.
Other conferences are jealous of the Big 12 because we have truck stops and lot lizards, union private equity. Yeah, the lot lizard union is really powerful.
It's prolific.
Yeah.
We
have truck stops and lot lizard unions. Okay.
Yeah, flyover conference is cooking.
If the Pac-12 doesn't manage to make at least $5 million per team more than the Mountain West, that's a failure. It's not a failure, though. At least not in my opinion. I don't know what you guys think. I don't think there is a significant quality difference even between the Mountain West and the Pac-12. Do you have better football brands in the Mountain West? No. Are you an exponentially better football conference in the Pac-12? No. You're not. And basketball, and again, I think it is remarkable to me that no Pac-12 fan wants to acknowledge what you have in Grand Canyon as a basketball member. Just don't want to acknowledge it.
No.
Don't want to acknowledge what you have. And what's awesome to me is Pac-12 fan doesn't want to acknowledge how good UNLV's been. Because UNLV and Boise State, have they really been that far apart?
Not really.
Boise's won the games. Have they really been, has Boise been exponentially better than UNLV in football? No. These two conferences, branding-wise, the Pac-12 has it. Actual on the court and on the field, I am not convinced that there is a significant discernible difference between the two. I believe that Gloria Nevarez and the people that run that conference constantly raise the bar in performance. Have they been able to generate the revenue? Clearly not, because you had 5 members walk out of the conference to something, whatever the Pac-12 promised them, and we'll see when the contract comes out. But they left for a reason. But if you really think that this Mountain West Conference is going to die, have you never seen Grand Canyon play basketball? I'm assuming 99% of Pac-12 fans have not.
You have no idea what that building's like for a home game, dude.
Well, you have no idea because Arizona State and Arizona and Duke, go ask Duke and Mike Krzyzewski what Grand Canyon University's arena is like. Go ask.
Good luck.
It's not a pleasure cruise. So the idea that the Mountain West is just going to put nobody in the NCAA tournament, as all the Pac-12 fans tell me, they can't even, they don't even have a tournament team. What about GCU? What about them?
They were a tournament team.
Yeah. It is what it is. Welcome to the nightmare. I think a lot of people are jealous of Texas State. I know I am. So many hating on a top 7 college football program in the state of Texas. You just couldn't stop yourself.
Guy.
You just couldn't stop yourself.
Absolutely show up, dude. Hell yeah.
This is what Monty says about taking your emotions out of it. Mike says, come to San Diego State and see a real arena. Dude, I love San Diego State. You do not have to sell me on anything San Diego State other than your shitty athletic director who does not make football teams win games. I am a huge. I know so many. One of our cousins went to San Diego State,
Yes.
dude. Like, I know so many people that are connected to San Diego State in one form or another. It's a great place, bro. You don't have to sell me on that. You got to sell me on why JD Wicker's still employed.
Facts.
Congratulations, you're in the Pac-12. Like,
Neat.
Now tell me you're going to win football games, because you're not going to. And I hope I'm wrong, because the Pac-12 will be a stronger, better conference if San Diego State wins games.
But they won't.
And they haven't, which makes me crazy. Tell your man to quit bad-mouthing the Lot Lizard Union. Toothless Tammy and Gums Gertrude are not trafficked. Show
And just
some
kind of
respect.
scruff it and play with it when it's wet.
They're profession. Okay. Fire comment. Exactly. I'm a Big 12 fan, and I will say playing at GCU is definitely a home court advantage. It's crazy. GCU has built a fan culture. I mean, we know this because we used to cover that team. Dan Marley used to occasionally come on our show every week. For the old timers from Arizona, you guys know this
did
story.
they win a game? Dude will be there.
Dan Marley will be there.
Oh, you lost the game. Nah, Dan's not going to be there.
Dan's unable to make it.
Please leave a message after the beep.
So Dan Marley, the former coach at Grand Canyon, used to come on our morning show every week, unless they lost. And I was like, clockwork, man. Oh, they lost. All right, got to plan another segment there. But the first time we were ever there, watching the Lopes fans jump up and down and get crazy and scream and yell, and in close games, that barn is unbelievable. I mean, Eric Wasikowski, Texas State, and that $400 million budget, Michigan could buy that school. Well, you guys have some legal fees coming up. And
again, nobody's comparing
damages.
Texas State to the big boys. Nobody. I don't disagree with you, but nobody's saying that they're Michigan.
So a Texas State fan came on the channel last week and got eviscerated. Because in what most people are calling a critically acclaimed Oak State James type comment.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
A Texas State fan came in here and said, "You put respect on our name. We're a top 7 school in Texas.
Cocaine is a hell of a drug.
We're a top 7 school in the state of Texas. God damn it." And I've never seen the roof come off this place the way it did then. It's
saying.
It's fine. It is. It be what it is. Guy have a Final Four. What do you mean? Guy? Who's Guy? Guy Haberman? But is San Diego a state, though? I believe it's its own state.
Such as in like.
And stuff.
Right.
GCU. Yeah. Grand Canyon University. One hangry harmf to go. Okay. GCU done 0 the past years. What do you mean? They've done 0.
He's saying that GCU doesn't have any Final Fours in San Diego.
So
State
when did
does.
they become didn't they just bump up 4 years ago?
Something like that.
Do you know okay. You can't compare San Diego State basketball to Grand Canyon basketball in historic terms. Grand Canyon's a new university, frankly. How long has Grand Canyon basketball been around? I mean, you guys, you make this job, and I appreciate you guys. You make this job so easy because you don't do your homework. You talk. Grand Canyon basketball has only been around since 1989. Are you with me on that, man? Like only since 19. And wait, hold on. I want to make sure that I'm right about
Monty.
that. Let me make sure. Antelopes men's basketball. Division I tournament results. Hey, the first time they went to the Division I tournament? 2021. Did you know they only won their first NCAA tournament game against St. Mary's in 2024?
Pump those numbers up. Those are rookie numbers in this racket.
It's a brand. You guys, it is a brand new. It is a brand new program. Like it is.
Doesn't mean they suck. Doesn't mean they're a bad ad.
No. But they're a newer program. I think that before that, weren't they like NAIA? Like back in the 70s, they were like NAIA. They're a brand new program. So it's cool. People don't tend to understand or take the time to.
Nope.
And they're first in the Great Northwest Conference, 1990. You guys, like this is a brand new program. And since Bryce Drew took the program over, like they have been unbelievably good. Unbelievably good. And now they're leaving the WAC to join the Mountain West. So they continue to scale. I'm just telling you, you can't compare San Diego State. And I'm sure you may have said something. Who is better? Here's one. Who's better in basketball, the past and the present? Bro, you're making my point.
You're arguing with a San Diego State fan.
You're making
fine,
my
dude.
point, man.
Yeah.
GCU was first eligible for postseason play in 2018.
Yeah. It's not like they've been around 50 years, bro.
Notre Dame beat West Virginia to win the Natty in 88-89.
Yeah.
Grand Canyon was formed millions of years ago, and so was their basketball tradition.
Human or non-human?
San Diego State fan, Mike, I think your name is
Mike.
You're trying to prove a point that you don't need to prove. Nobody is arguing that Grand Canyon has a better historical program than San Diego State. But fuck, man, you guys just went to the Final Four. Like, nobody is arguing your point. You're fighting with yourself, man. Nobody is arguing
San Diego State has a better historical.
Did I say that backwards?
You said it backwards, yeah.
Yeah, nobody's arguing that Grand Canyon has a better historical record than San Diego State. What I'm telling you is, if you think that's an easy button and you're just writing off Grand Canyon is just some terrible program, don't say I didn't warn you. Don't say I didn't warn you. They are well-heeled. They're like, do you understand that Jerry Colangelo has played a huge role in that program? Do you understand that they have a ton of money? They have a beautiful facility. They recruit internationally. That's a good program. Oh, look, there he is. 7th best program in the state.
It's a new time.
Hey,
Bro.
If you're Texas State, when this invitation comes out, I would agree you should be super excited. To be a doormat in the Pac-12 is far better.
Effect is definitely the real deal.
Yeah, being a doormat in the Pac-12, that is an absolute calling. And I think that,
it's a new time. Okay.
It is definitely historical. But if your idea is...
How about mine? We're going to be top 7 in the pack now.
We'll see. Yeah. And again, listen, if you need a referral to crack rehab, please DM Jake. We know some people. Because to say something like, we will compete, all of Texas will jump on.
Don't play intramurals, brother.
What are you doing?
Other than the fact that Texas Tech has one of the best portal recruiting years in the history of the state.
With a billionaire providing for them.
And his wife who likes softball. And other than the fact that that little team that plays in burnt orange uniforms is, the best team in the country. Oh, yeah, the entire state. They're just going to jump on board like Dave Aranda's your football coach.
I mean, kudos for the commitment to the bit, dude. Bro. Like you don't leave us anywhere to go.
I'm sorry. All of Texas will jump on.
Yeah, jump on your face.
Jump on your mom. You know, I was talking to this guy.
Guys.
I was talking to this guy from Texarkana, and he was telling me he jumped on board them Wildcats. Got some scabies, but he jumped on board. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Lopes fan gave for $5. GCU is literally 4-1 their last 5 matchups against San Diego State, including wins in 23-16, 2015 in San Diego.
Okay, Gabe took it personally.
You don't always have to be negative.
It was in this moment.
Dude.
Mike went from eating popcorn at his couch
Bro.
to...
It was at this moment that he knew he fucked up.
He went to eating Gabe's ass. I just don't know why people write off Grand Canyon basketball. I'll never understand it. And I don't have a dog in the fight. I just admire how much they've built that university, because they have had hurdle after hurdle put in front of them, and they have just kept going. So it is what it is. Texas State giving free mustache rides. I've heard that.
Yeah.
Upper Deck, but I've heard that. Portal National Champs, Texas Tech. Dude, can you imagine how...
God, Utah fan is so bitter.
How pissed off will the town of Lubbock be if Joey wins? Like, could you imagine him going like 2 games?
That's what fucking
we won 2 games.
Fuck off.
I mean, it was Abilene and UTSA. We ran this state. We're the 3rd best team in Texas behind Texas.
Damn.
I can't even, if he does not win double-digit games. And that Utah game, Utah, Texas Tech, what is that, week 4, is going to be one of the games of the year in this conference. I mean,
yep.
The work that is going on behind the scenes at Texas Tech to get that team ready, the offseason, the time they are spending together, the chemistry they are trying to build. Joey McGuire is very aware that when you bring in that kind of humanity, that chemistry is a very difficult thing to tap. They are working really hard to make those guys become friends, to put them together, to build, to foster relationship building. And it's got to pay off. It has to pay off. Jeremiah Sullivan, whose last name is Champion, Texas State, go to word timeout. The truth about Texas State is that's a really good athletic department. The climb is what Texas State guy doesn't understand.
Yeah.
And look no further than Utah. Go watch Utah from the Mountain West to the Pac-12. Go look at Utah and what the fan sentiment for Utah football and Kyle Whittingham was in like 2014. Go. Look how many people were calling for him to be fired. Because nobody, we're Utah. We're in the Mountain West. We're going to run the Pac-12.
Duh.
How long did it take you to win a Pac-12 championship and go to the Rose Bowl? A decade? Do you really think Texas State is just going to walk into the Pac-12? Because they're going to get that invite. It's from what I understand, it's done. You think you're just going to walk into Boise and, yeah, we're going to beat their ass? Oh, okay. 21,000 strong in our home games. Oh, we're going to, because Texas guy also was like, oh, dude, we travel like 3,000 fans to every road game. Good luck. Like it's a climb. Will you eventually be competing in the Pac-12? Yes. Do you think that's going to, you might even, historically what happens is you come in year 1, you do really well. Because you've built the hype, you've got guys in your pipeline that you brought in, you've put the weight on them, you've put the food in them, you've coached them up. It's that next recruiting class where you haven't quite yet recruited another level up of talent. And so you're playing with a knife at a gunfight. You're going to stick some dudes? Yeah. You're going to take a lot of lead? Yes. You're going to be leaking like crazy.
Yeah.
And it's going to be like 2-3 years. And then Jimmy, the quarterback, is going to show up. And you're going to have a couple of linebackers, and all of a sudden linebackers are going to turn into safeties. And all of a sudden, what do you know? You're competing, and with a couple of weeks to go, you'll be in earshot. 1 year, you'll be like, okay, three games left. Man, if we can win 2 of these 3 and maybe 3 of those 3, we will make it to the conference championship game. Yeah, but it's cold, and you got to go to Boise in November, and you just couldn't get over the hump. And then all summer long, your coach is going to talk about how you got your ass kicked in Boise. Couldn't handle it. Couldn't handle the altitude. Couldn't handle the cold. The blue turf, Smurf turf. Beat our ass. Albertsons everywhere. Okay, great. The next year when Boise comes to your hometown and all 21,000 of you show up, that's when you'll beat them. It's like it's out there. That's forever tested and true. So
just to spice things up here a little bit. Little off the topic news.
Oh, hold on. Okay, go ahead. Like, this is Jake.
Now,
how bad did Mike Lindell lose?
Oh, he got run.
Did he really?
Oh yeah.
My pillow guy, Mike Lindell. The election was stolen. Mike Lindell, my pillow.
Federal jury has found My Pillow's Mike Lindell defamed Eric Coomer, Dominion Voting Systems executive, and has ordered him to pay $2.3 million in damages.
He is broke, dude.
Good luck.
His company essentially is out of business. He is broke from legal fees and fighting off all these suits.
It's rough, bro.
And now you just lost a directed verdict of $2.3 million.
It's rough, man.
My pillow. Back in the day before Mike Lindell went all election denier, I want to say it was like 2010, maybe even before that. They sent the radio station I was working at like a case of My Pillows and wrote this huge check for an advertising campaign. And one of the guys that I worked with at the time hated My Pillows. So he refused to talk about My Pillow on his show. They wanted their money back and they asked for the pillows back. It was one of the greatest things that has ever happened in my
we did.
But it was fun. It was fun. Mike Lindell is unintentional comedy gold. Truly is. Truly is. Like, it's amazing. Mike says Gloria has another check waiting for you. What do you mean by that?
What does that mean, dude?
Oh, is that a they're paying us comment? See, like, why I think it's hysterical that that's your defense, because I don't agree with your way over the top San Diego State's amazing and GCU sucks take. The Gloria must be paying me to say that. Gloria doesn't even know I'm alive. Like, you really think that the Mountain West is going to, or the Pac-12, or we're at, what are we? SEC homers, Big 12 show, Notre Dame homers. You really think any of those people give a rat's ass what I say about them? We're just a tiny little sports talk show.
Mm-hmm.
They don't care. If they want to, hey, if anybody wants to send checks, please DM me. Hit me on Venmo, man. Hit your tip jar is down below.
Get it.
Right? He is. Big Blue Horses. I love My Pillow. I sleep on at night. It's My Pillow though. My Pillow's better than your pillow. My Pillow actually wasn't a bad pillow. I liked My Pillow quite a bit. He's just not for everybody. You know, Mike. My Pillow is great for biting. I didn't know they were edible. Michael. Don't know about the company or the owner, but I like the pillow I bought. It's a comfortable pillow. I didn't hate mine. I don't use it anymore. But, you know, because no way can you have an opposing opinion to theirs unless you're getting paid, right? This is what Utah fan always says it when I say nice things about BYU. And then the amazing thing was we talked about the Retzloff thing, and I was like, yeah, no way Jake can play at BYU, the honor code. They're like, that's right. Damn right. Get him out of here. Hey, they're like 4 quarterbacks deep. Let him stay. Let him hang out. This is an ACC West showgram. Yeah, Jim Phillips is in my pocket. He pays me. Right? And not to be serious, but can we just have a conversation where our opinions don't agree, but we agree to disagree? And we say, well, hey, I guess we'll see when San Diego State and GCU play again, or we'll see next, in 2026 when we get to the college football playoff selection show. It's not a you're stupid and I'm smart. We have opinions. The only difference between your opinion and my opinion is I get to talk to the people who are directly involved. That's how my opinions are formed. That's it. Fight on. My pillow left me. It accused me of being a Democrat. Well,
okay.
Heard that about you, damn liberals. The eye patch. Former dope addicts turned religious zealots are always amusing. They are. I agree. And speaking in general terms, they very much are always amusing. Hey, real quick, can we talk about Katie Clark?
Hey, Katie.
Is Caitlin Clark the only reason to watch the WNBA? Because nobody watched the WNBA when she was hurt. And then she came back and did this. Her and Breanna Stewart were going head to head. And Caitlin Clark dropped like straight three balls from like three-quarter court. And the one was on Breanna Stewart, who plays for New York. And they're just laughing and playing and having a good time competing. I know.
God forbid.
We're not supposed to do that. This moment, and if you haven't seen the video of it, obviously we can't play it. It's copyrighted, or I would have played the video. This moment was one of the best basketball moments I have seen all year. Two people competing passionately, laughing and having a good time on national TV. This is, to me, why Caitlin Clark is so important to the WNBA. She is the example of sportsmanship. And Breanna Stewart getting got and then laughing, like they were genuinely happy having a good time playing basketball and getting paid millions to do it. And as ridiculous as that sounds, how rare is that?
Pretty rare.
It's pretty rare, right? And I think it was one of the best moments of the weekend. Watching Caitlin Clark back on the floor, dropping bombs, and then having a laugh with Breanna Stewart because she backed up. What happened is Breanna Stewart stepped out so she couldn't keep shooting threes like that. So Caitlin just backed up a little bit and shot one over, and it went in anyway. And then they laughed going up and down the court. It was great. It was really good TV.
Yeah, Caitlin Clark is, to me, the reason you watch the WNBA.
Yes. And I loved every second of it. So, look at that loaner phone. Good AM from Thailand, boys.
Nice.
How was the trip? I did the self-abuse thing of going into my Twitter comments.
Oh, God.
My notifications.
Oh, God.
And I saw loaner phone tweeted at me from the airport. Dipped in, dipped out. I'm done. Glad to see you made it there, bud. Good to see you. Then I guess the numbers support the data. Okay. Is she pooping in that picture? What do you mean? Is she just
Mike? You're on it. You're on one today, bud.
Does she look? Does Katie Clark
are
look
you
like
saying
she's
that
pooping?
She looks like she's constipated.
Okay. It is not her best look, but I could not find a better freeze frame. But I think she is the entire thing.
Without a doubt.
That picture can be taken in so many different ways. No, I'm not going to play the game with you guys. I wish my arms were as chiseled as hers. B, I wish I was able to compete at that level and have fun doing it. Because I can't.
Right.
I'm too effing competitive. It is what it is. All right, Dwight. Ooh, Dwight. Hello, Dwight. Caitlin Clark is the WNBA. Monty, the league is lucky she is not in Europe. I totally
agree with that, man.
Caitlin Clark is the only reason I know the WNBA even is, but it seems like WNBA leadership think it's because of everyone else. I think there is an immediate issue.
Yeah, I think that
with that because you're not wrong.
Yeah, WNBA leadership wants to say the league is growing and it's amazing and everyone's here, and it's like, no, dude. We're here for Caitlin Clark. We're not here for Angel Reese, and we're only here for Angel Reese to miss her first shot, and then we're tuning out.
Yeah, exactly right, John Hamm. Look what happened to ticket prices when she was hurt.
Yeah, took a dump.
Look what nobody went to games. Ticket prices plummeted. Nobody watched on TV. Ratings plummeted. I mean, it's awfully difficult to make the argument, right? It's really difficult to make the argument.
Yeah.
Real quick, a couple other things because we got to do Prize Picks here. Prize Picks, America's favorite daily fantasy. Download Prize Picks. NBA Finals game starts in less than an hour now. And Jake and the Halaban and do we still have the Halaban in there?
I don't believe so.
You deleted the Halaban video.
Yeah. I think I did. I could be wrong.
You're a bad person, Jake. Jake is convinced that Tyrese Halliburton is the single best player in the NBA right now. Now, of course, I've told him that's complete garbo, but he says, oh, Tyrese the Halaban. And what did they call Katie Clark?
Caitlin Katie Clark.
Yeah. Real funny. Jerky boy. I look at this, and the best thing about tonight's game, get a 20% payout boost on the Halaban. Okay, so which team will score first for game 5? Pacers or Thunder? I'm going Thunder. And 62% agree with me. Who do you would you have got this one? OKC's big three combined for 100 points, rebounds, and assists in one game 4 after an explosive fourth quarter from SGA. Yes, I would have gotten that. I mean, to me, I'm telling you now, I think if you look at this game, one of the guys you have to look at is Alex Caruso, because I know it's crazy. He continues to dominate the Pacers.
Right.
He is averaging 13.5 points in his last 5. He has a number tonight of points, rebounds, and assists of 17.5. He's hit that 3 out of his last 4.
You got to take the Demon at 19.5.
God, why?
Because he's clearly capable of more, and they're playing at home tonight.
Okay.
But don't listen to me. I'm terrible at this, but I'm taking the Demon.
I'm not taking the Demon.
And then SGA on free throws, right?
No, because every time you do, you're wrong. I'm going to take the 17.5 on Caruso. And what about the Halaban?
Less on points, rebounds, and assists.
Yeah, you are. I think that's exactly the way to go. He's 30.5 points, rebounds, and assists.
Less.
I agree. I think you have to go less. And then do you go? The hard part on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is it's really difficult. 6 dimes. He really hasn't done that.
I feel like
3-pointers made. He's really not a 3-point shooter.
I mean,
field goals made 12.5.
Attempted numbers big though too. Like
9 free throws attempted. 4 points in the first 5 minutes. No, he's not done that one time in the postseason.
Go turnovers. Turnovers, he's got a really good number.
40.5 points, rebounds, and assists. I think you have to go.
I'm going turnovers. He's got a Goblin at 1.5. He's averaging almost 3 his last 5 games.
I don't think you can do. God, this is so tough, you guys. 19.5 2-pointers attempted. He's averaging 19.8 a game. 2-pointers made. God. I don't know what to do. That's why I said maybe you just stay away from it.
Yeah, I don't love the numbers there. The turnovers is the best one.
46.5 points, rebounds, and assists. I think I'm going less. You know what? In fact, I think I'm not taking. I'm going to go Chet Holmgren something.
What about Jalen Williams?
What about 3 3-pointers made from Chet Holmgren?
Nah.
He's done that 3 of his last 5 games. He's averaging 4.4.
Okay.
3-pointers attempted. So tough.
I'm taking Jalen Williams for more than 2.5 personal fouls. He's had.
All right. Here's where I'm at. I hate these. It's so hard, and it's a game 5 in a 2-2 series. Caruso more than 17.5 points, rebounds, and assists. The Halliburton for less than 30.5 points, rebounds, and assists.
Mm-hmm.
And Jalen Williams for 5.5 free throws attempted, more.
Halliburton less than 30.5. SGA more than 1.5 turnovers. Jalen Williams more than 2.5 personal fouls.
All right.
Feel pretty good about those. Just do it.
Download the Prize Picks app. Use the promo code Monty. You deposit $5. They'll give you 50 more instantly. Do it right now. I love playing Prize Picks, you guys. I love Prize Picks baseball. I'm very thankful the Cubs are off tonight so I can focus on the NBA Finals. I am absolutely a huge believer in Prize Picks. I think it is the easiest game money can buy. I'm a huge fan. Johnny Gonzalez Thunder are going to blow it. They always do. Move the team. It's all over. Okay. Okay. Jeremiah Sullivan, champion. Texas State should change their school fight song to The Climb by Miley Cyrus. They could do that. Sac State did get denied. Sac State wanted a waiver. And Sac State wants to go up as a independent. And they wanted a waiver because of that. And I just don't know how you do what Sac State's trying to do without having to go through a lot of red tape. I think it's one of the worst things that we do. And I hate it. I really hate it. I hope that Sac State makes it because I think it's a really good story.
Right.
It's just going to take time. Because what Sacramento State wants is to move into FBS as an independent. Transitioning schools are normally required to hold a conference invitation from an FBS conference. And Sac State wants to go as an independent. And it just doesn't make a lot of sense to have them go as an independent. But in today's landscape, I don't see how, where are they going to fit into a conference of note that will pay them on par with the money they've spent to get there? It's just a really complex situation. And it sucks. And I feel if in fact this is where they end up, because I think they're probably going to sue, because who doesn't?
Right. Of course.
I just think it's an incredibly bad loss for Sac State. It just sucks. Fight on, Natties. Be well, my friend. Fight on. Johnny Gonzalez, I already read that one. Hard Knock Life for us.
Mm-hmm.
Little Orphan Annie can be their mascot. You guys be nice.
Dude, chill.
Joseph Harper says he sent his Prize Picks.
Okay.
Let's see. Did he?
Are you checking
Twitter?
your Twitter?
Your
X DMs?
Not on X. Let's go over to. I think you're a.
He's an Instagram guy, I think.
All right, Instagram. Here it is. He's got Pascal Siakam for more than 4.5 free throws made.
Okay.
Obi Toppin for 3.5 field goals made, and Jalen Williams for 5.5 free throw attempts. I like that.
There you go.
I like that. That is that's solid stuff, dude.
Solid.
Joey Harper.
Oh.
You know. All right, couple of non-sports stories, then we have to go. Why are we fascinated with the Titanic? So my wife strapped me down to the couch this weekend and forced me to watch this stupid documentary that was amazing about the little submersible that imploded on its way to the Titanic.
Right.
So let me get this right. You named a carbon fiber tube a Titan and thought that it would be fine. You guys know the story, right?
Yes.
One of the things that's amazing is this Titan submersible, which was owned by a company called OceanGate. He hired and fired more people because they said no. He had engineering professionals who would not get on it. And then he was just like, nah, I'm going to do it my way. For instance, such as in like, so you build this tube of carbon fiber, which everybody told you would fail. You tried to dive, you couldn't. So you took a carbon fiber vessel tube thing and you set it on the dock in Nova Scotia for the winter. Even though everybody told you, hey, you can't leave that thing outside because if it gets too cold, and any of us who own carbon fiber know this, carbon fiber gets cold, what happens? It expands and contracts. And what happens when it expands and contracts? Bad things. Leaves it on the dock in Nova Scotia. Try to get it back in, put it in the water. You hire this influencer who's a diver, an influencer who's a diver. And you put this guy in the tube. And he's going to go down to give you some free publicity. Only you can't get in the water because the seas are too rough and not able to dive, not able to dive, not able to dive, not able to dive. So the guy never gets to go down because of the ocean. Too much wave, too much motion on your ocean.
Right.
You know, we've all been there.
Yeah, of course.
The very next dive is when the Titan submersible imploded. And it's like this, you listen to this diving influencer crying on this documentary about how he can't believe it. Like he would have died. And why? Because from my opinion, they ignored every safety measure. They ignored all the people who said, I'm not getting in that thing. Like they literally had an engineer who's like, I'm not getting in that thing. Because they would take the Titan submersible down and you would hear these pop, pop. And they would take it apart and inspect it, and there'd be these huge cracks because it's carbon fiber and it can't handle the pressure. And everybody told him that. They ignored it. Just completely ignored it. And it is one of the most terrifying documentaries I've ever watched because it just appears that guy didn't give a rat's ass if that thing imploded or not. He was going to do it his way.
Yeah, you just dove down to your suicide, your death.
I was really upset watching it.
Yeah, I intentionally have not watched it. I'm not putting myself through that.
But you guys explain to me, why are people obsessed with the Titanic? I have no desire to dive down in a submersible and go see the Titanic. It's a ship that's on the bottom of the ocean. I like the ones that don't sink. Right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably what it is that people can't see it. So it's like, hey, I have to go see it.
But
and
why is the Titanic even famous? Can anybody explain to me why it's a ship that sank? Is it only famous because of Leonardo DiCaprio?
I mean, that's probably helping things, yeah.
I have no idea why it's famous.
I also think that just the legend of it, like, hey, these people were out, it hit this iceberg, put a hole in the hull of the ship, and it sank. And then it broke in half, allegedly. So, I don't know, man. It's just like anything else. Why are people fascinated with UFOs? Why are people fascinated with?
Did you see
whatever?
that UFO story here in Utah? You want to know how stupid people are? There was supposedly
allegedly.
So Utah, where Salt Lake City is a big valley. In the western part of the valley, there are the Ochre Mountains. And from the other side of the valley, the Wasatch Mountains, somebody took a video that's completely blurry of big, bright white light balls flying up and down, going up and down.
Mm-hmm.
UFOs! They're UFOs!
Infowars.com.
And so I was talking to this guy in the comments section on this TikTok video. I was like, hey, how do you know they're UFOs? It quite literally looks like a lens that's out of focus. I'm like, there's no way to know what that is.
Monty.
An hour later, a guy commented, hey, on the date that this video is timestamped, the base, there's a military base. They were doing nighttime firing. Because it's a big training base. I can't remember the name of the base over there off the top of my head, but for whatever reason, they were doing night firing that night on the day the video was recorded. No, and the guy is arguing with all the people in the comments saying, it's a UFO. Look at the way they're moving. It's not a UFO, but we're so obsessed with, oh my God, that's a UFO. Actually, it's a dead bug on the window. If you put the iPhone in focus, oh, my bad. We obsess over this stuff, and I'll never understand it.
Yeah, we want it to be true. Something terrible.
It wasn't UFOs. I don't know why you want to go down to a watery grave at the Titanic.
I will never understand it, dude. I won't understand why. I understand that people have a passion for things, right? But what I'll never understand is why, when you know it's life or death, would you shortcut? Like, I don't care if it's the Titanic, a car, a rocket ship, like when you're going fast or when you're doing something where if one mistake happens, you die. Why are you shortcutting? Well, why are you trying to control a submersible with an Xbox remote? Like, what are we doing?
And they wanted this girl that they were employing. They wanted her to be the face of the company and their lead pilot of the submersible. She has zero experience. Not an engineer, not a pilot, not a sailor, not a captain. But she was cute and she could be like a PR face. Female captain pilot of our death trap. Get out of here.
Come on.
Get out of here, man. Like, Joey Harper. I didn't hear about the UFO story, but heard about the werewolf story in Salt Lake. Yeah, did you hear about this shit, dude? This guy attacks another guy with a wood stake. They arrest him. Hey, why'd you do that? Because he's a werewolf and he was trying to get my heart. What? He's like, this guy is a werewolf. I was trying to save myself. You got to stab him through the heart with the.
Okay.
What is wrong with you? Werewolves aren't real. Hey, breaking news. Sasquatch aren't real either.
What?
Oh, hey, man.
Come on.
Hey, is that a what do they call him?
Come on.
Not Sasquatch.
Bigfoot.
Bigfoot. Oh, hey, look, there's a Bigfoot. I saw him on a grainy video.
Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
No, you didn't. There's not. Oh, but look, there's reportedly. It was just windy that day, and the Doug fir was blowing in the wind. That's not true.
Fuck up,
not
Donnie.
true, Monty. That was a werewolf in Bigfoot clothing.
Okay. Okay.
Come on. Yeah, Fat Jesus. I suppose Santa's fake too. You're goddamn right he's fake.
Yeah, I don't know what we got going on at the North Pole, but
Gumby. But Bigfoot is real. Apparently he's a big Utah Mammoth fan too. A little disappointed they didn't call him the Yeti, but he said he'd still support the club. Come down out of the mountains, go to games and stuff. Johnny Gonzalez, if you ain't Titanic chasing, you ain't dying in a $20 aluminum tube. Hey, can I keep that Coke can? I got an idea.
Apparently.
Right? Jeff Woodworth, I live in Alaska and Santa is real. Okay. Isn't Alaska having a heat wave right now?
Are they?
I want to say that Alaska is breaking records for heat. And it's going to be 104 on Thursday here in Salt Lake City. Alaska weather. It is going to be 104 here in Salt Lake City. Yes, first ever heat advisory issued in Alaska on June 15th. The National Weather Service issues a heat advisory about temperatures using special weather statements. And what it says is areas across the state of Alaska are seeing highs in the upper 80s, according to the National Weather Service. Further up north, temperatures dip, with areas in Alaska seeing temperatures in the 60s. The heat advisory in Alaska will be in place 1 p.m. Sunday through Tuesday at 7 p.m. You can look for temperatures in Frank Tanana, Fairbanks, Fort Yukon, and Eagle around 89 to 92 degrees. There are flood advisories in the northern part of the state as ice and snow in the area could melt rapidly with the heat. Oh.
That's not good.
Can you imagine 90 degrees in Alaska at that place on the globe? Nah, I'm fine.
Nope.
I'm thinking that's probably not the best way to go about this.
Nope.
But it's not real.
Of course not.
That's, it's global warming.
It's all fake, dude.
And stuff.
Yeah, it's all fake.
Is not real.
Yeah, it's all fake.
All right, I guess we're Jake's got to pee. Is that true?
A little bit.
I mean, a little bit, but that's not. The show's over.
Yeah,
this is 4 hours now.
Yeah.
You guys, amazing. Appreciate all of you who commented on the show today.
We're just the 7th best show in some land.
Love every one of you. Thanks for your opinions. Thanks for sharing your opinions. Thank you for disagreeing with us. Let's do it again tomorrow. Don't forget, this is only a 3-day week. Monty-cation coming up.
Monty.
3-day week. We'll be back tomorrow. Presented by The Advocates at theadvocates.com. Until tomorrow, say goodbye, Jake.
Goodbye, Jake.